Mr. Nadeem, we are about to be live. My fellow statesman is in the house. Okay, so there we go. All right, everybody. Benevolence. I told you I was coming back live, didn't I? I told all y'all I am coming back live. And I am live. We are live on fellow statesmen is in the house. Okay. So there we go. Can't have that. Okay, so we're going live. We are official. Benevolence, everybody, we're live. We know you are tuned in right now on We're Live Benevolence. It's me, Davidemetri. We are live in color. Instagram, Davidemetri. Gratitude. YouTube, the Original World Union. Gratitude. YouTube, Davidemetri live in color. Gratitude. Facebook, Davidemetri Johnson. Gratitude. That's right. We're linked in to all of you. Right now, simultaneously. Me and my fellow statesman, Nadeem.
Hello, everybody.
Nadeem Mustafa recognizes bringing the real American culture, real American knowledge and truth. And that's what we do. It is September 17th. Time is flying. September 17th. We just recognized and honored our 23rd year since September 11th, 2001 attacks on our nation. Yeah, we just had our we had the debate, and then the presidential debate, and the next day was September 11th. So we celebrated honoring those lives lost and just the disgrace that they would attack not only our nation but innocent people in our nation. We honored that. We're on the 17th September 2024. We're going toward the landslide of the end of the presidential election, and either Kamala Harris, Democrat, will become the first woman president of the United States of America. Or will it be, again, the president of the United States of America, Donald Trump? We will see, and we will know very soon. So we're going to discuss post-election needs, regardless of who's the president. And we're going to do some responses on things going on, not just politics. This is needed dialogue and needed information for the subconscious, because you're not getting the right information for your subconscious in the corporate media or in the overflow of alternative media. So again, for those that just getting this, because we just launched on Facebook, Davidemetri Johnson on Facebook. Instagram is Davidemetri. YouTube, Davidemetri live in color. And also on the YouTube, our news, our political, and our future-focused YouTube, the Original World Union. We're doing this for you all, and that's what we do. So we're going to serenade and let Nadeem bring in some consciousness and some revelation and some subject matter. Let's go. what you have for us, Nadine.
All right. Well, I think we have a few different topics and stuff to kind of cover, and we just kind of want to talk about just generally what's been going on here, I guess, in the country, and we did want to talk a little bit about some international things going on. Because it's definitely very important, to our country and everything on what's happening internationally. And I know a lot of times it's outside the United States, so we're not paying attention to it. But I think now more than ever, we do have to pay attention to it because there's a lot of interesting things that are happening right now. And one of the things that concerns me, I'm not going to get into it too much right now because we're going to get into it, but, we do have a president, which is President Biden right now, who is going to be basically voted out now in, I believe it's 50 days or might be 49 days now. And then from that 49 days, from November 11th to January, whatever, he's got 2 more months. In those 2 more months, I think he can do a lot of shady things that I think we have to worry about. And that's one of the things I want to talk about later. Because then he's not going to have the pressure of having to basically behave because of the election. So I think that's something interesting that we need to talk about also.
And you were speaking of...
Well,
Biden?
I think primarily, well, yes, of course, Biden, because although... supposedly they tell us he's the president, but I haven't seen him around. I don't know about you guys, but...
I don't know what happened to Biden. He turned into you know who he resembles? Someone that we know named Kamala Harris. His behavior lately has been just like Kamala Harris. It's like there's no access. You don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, and that's a little bit different subject with Kamala and stuff, and her, kind of hiding and just doing her preset presentation, and that's about it. And I think that's definitely another subject that we can go ahead and get into also.
Yeah, it's very shady how it's election time, and one of the most important for the people is transparency and consistency. So again, we're going to compare her to a presidential elect at the time in 2008 and 2007 going into 2008 named Barack Obama. They're both from the same party, but why is she the exact opposite of him? Why is she allowed to not be in public, be interviewed, and not have to keep dates for public transparency? Why is she not? And that's what I question and ask myself, because I'm not comparing her to a Republican, which would be her opposition. I'm actually comparing her to one of her mentors and one of her. She's the exact opposite, and it's kind of ridiculous.
I agree.
And so they can't say, well, you comparing her to blah, blah, blah. And then everyone, hello. An interesting thing for me, remember I'm a political atheist, is that George Bush Jr., who is also a Gemini like me, born in June, but he said I'm not endorsing either. He's not endorsing either. And then another weird thing that I thought was I think it's family, because I know Dick Cheney wasn't getting along with his daughter because she's a staunch liberal and, a conservative, but a Democrat. And I'm just not buying it. I don't believe he doesn't want to support Republican and conservative.
Well,
I think it's a family matter, I think.
No, but that's one of the important things that I had here on that I want to talk about, because I know the last time we talked about that there's some Republicans, supporting Kamala. And yes, you're right. Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney, and all these bunch of people are supporting Kamala. And that's one of the subjects I want to talk about here with the international. And these guys, as far as I'm concerned with Dick Cheney, I mean, he's a warmonger, and that's where these guys are supporting Kamala, because Kamala also, it's one of the subjects we want to talk about. They're all about the war. They're not about, settling things. And like I say, that's things that we're going to get into. But all of these people want more war, and that's what I don't like.
Yeah, I don't like it, but like when I was as a rapper growing up, one of the sayings I would always say, because I grew up listening to dance hall music and hip hop, and I grew up in an era where it was battle rapping and it was battle DJing. So battling, and so it was a saying, one of my favorite of all time MCs named, a DJ from Jamaica named Ninja Man. He would always say, war's written all over me. He was like the war horse. Like he was unbeatable, like Ninja Man. And so I kind of always said that about myself. And so I'm 100% with you because I don't think the civilians deserve this globally, and I don't think the economies deserve the war. But right now, I do feel like some of the things that Russia is doing, and sadly to say this, some of the things Israel's doing, and sadly to say is some of the things the Palestinians doing. And when I say Palestinians, I mean Hamas. I better be politically correct. But I feel like both sides over there are asking for it. I feel like Russia's asking for it. And I feel like it's getting to the point where I always stood up for China. But now I'm getting to the point where like I'm starting to see their moves. And I'm getting like, this isn't the China I knew that I stood up for. When I was in a world's debate in mock United Nations. They're getting kind of bold there. You know, and now you're threatening home. You know, so I'm like,
yeah. I just think, you know, you're talking about this rapper. I forgot what his name was.
Ninja Man.
Ninja Man, that's right, Ninja Man. And the only difference is, yeah, you can fight all you want with Ninja Man. The main difference with Ninja Man is Ninja Man didn't have nuclear weapons.
Oh, woo!
You know, and that's what people are not really thinking about. And I want to get a little bit more into that conversation, and I'm kind of easing into it a little bit.
I'm going to get you some earphones. The only reason I don't have you earphones because the ones I got, they sent me the wrong ones.
Right,
I was going to surprise you as a gift.
We'll deal with that as that comes. Okay.
So you can hear the effects.
It's okay.
And then you can also learn
It's okay. Sorry.
All
right. Yeah, but I think that's just one of the things. And, you know, I think the situation with China's just sitting back and they're just waiting. And I'm not sure exactly where to start, but I'm going to go ahead and start with this. Because I think well, first of all, I think with the exit of Afghanistan, it was an absolute embarrassment. It was ridiculous. It was the most stupidest thing in the world, how they exited the country. You know, we're supposedly the one of the most powerful militaries in the world, and yet we had people hanging off the outsides of the C-130 planes and flying off the outside of these planes, you know, abandoning allies of ours, U.S. citizens, everything there. And it's just, you know, it's just basic common sense. You're not the military person. You know, you pull out the military first and you leave things behind. That was just absolutely stupid. In addition to that, I just thought it was interesting is no general or nobody that was in charge of that exit strategy was fired. Nobody was brought in front of Congress. Nobody anything. And it's great. It happened great.
Didn't we pull out the first year they were in office? Biden was in office. Was it the first year or the second year?
What was the second year? Did the exit?
Pulling out, yeah.
I think it was like the second year because it's been like it was like a 2-year anniversary. So we did have that, but like I said, after that F up is what I'm going to call it. Nobody got fired. Nobody got reprimanded. It was like, oh, okay, you know, even now, you know, even Kamala says, oh no, you know, she was the last person in the room, you know, when she approved this withdrawal, and everything is great, and no, we did a great job. It wasn't embarrassing. It wasn't this, but for me, I just think it really showed the weakness in the Biden-Harris administration, and that set up a lot of things for the war. Now,
I agree.
I believe it was February 14th.
It's a laughing matter how they behave.
Yeah, well, a couple things. Just before, you know, the Ukraine war started, you know, the United States, of course, you know, with the satellites and stuff, they said, hey, look, it looks like they're setting something up or whatever. And then one of the things that Biden said is you know, because one of the reporters asked him, he says, oh, well, you know, how do you feel about what's going on? And he says, well, it all depends if they do a little incursion or a full incursion, how we're going to respond. To me, that showed weakness. He should have said, look, you MFers, if you guys go ahead and come, you know, invade Ukraine, we're going to defend them 100% and this and that. Then I think Russia would have thought twice about actually going in. Now they're in, they can't pull out. They're already committed to it, so they're not going to stop. Now, another interesting thing that I think is Kamala was set in charge to go ahead and do a meeting to try to, I don't know, resolve it. And they did a meeting, I think it was February 14th, because I think the war started the 19th, I believe, just a few days later. And she went to Munich, Germany to go ahead and meet with some of the NATO allies and this and that. And it was with Zelensky. She had like 3 different meetings with Zelensky. And then when she left, she came back to the United States. 3 days later, Russia invaded. Now, My question to you is this. She was in Munich, Germany, and I'll even say till today, now it's like 2.5 years of this war. Has either one of them, Biden or Kamala, and Kamala's obviously deeply, deeply involved in this negotiation, because you can't say she's not, because she was in charge of that, and that's what she did. Has any of these two people, have they ever even called Putin once?
Absolutely not. They wouldn't.
They hadn't, but okay.
And I'm saying that from a perspective of being a trained public diplomacy officer. They wouldn't, because of snobbery, oligarch to oligarch, they wouldn't,
All right, but yet...
And Biden's not, because he's not even healthy enough.
I agree. So, I mean, I'm not going to go there and go ahead and go into whatever, but I think that everything that I've seen with them is everything only to expand the war and to make it larger, but they never have any discussions whatsoever on how to end the war and how to come to a resolution, And
absolutely. This is absolute truth. And any effort at all, as a matter of fact.
All they do is they give Trump crap about, he's friends with Putin, he's this and that, and he talks to North Korea, and I think you need to have communication. The more communication that you have with your enemies, whatever, the better off you are.
Yes.
And even now, they started in the beginning, they gave them the Stryker missiles, the Javelin missiles, and all that stuff. They started from there.
And I think
which
it's
is fine.
Really terrible what they're doing right now. And then the sad thing is, Biden is he'll be not the president in a month and a half, 2 months, and he's right now upping the stakes, sending over those long-range missiles that can hit Moscow.
Well, but see, he's not
even going to be in office.
But they started first with where they said, no, we're not going to give them any tanks, because that's going to go ahead and escalate this and this and that, and we're not going to do it. And then all of a sudden, what did they do? They gave them 31 M1 Abrams tanks. 45 other tanks.
And that was 2 years ago or a year ago?
Well, I'm not sure exactly. Well, I'll tell you exactly. Delivered October 2023. They promised them before. A lot of the other countries delivered the tanks first, and the M1 Abrams came in later. But it's, again, the same thing. They should have negotiated with Russia. Hey, look, we need to put an end to this, or we're going to give them the tanks. They didn't do that. They just sent the tanks. Then later, we're going to go send the HIMARS missiles. And
how many? 300?
Well, the HIMARS missile, I got the list here. I'm going to go through some of the lists so you can kind of get an idea of what is over there right now.
Let me remind them of what we're speaking of. For any of you that are not sure, we're actually speaking about the Ukrainian, Russian, officially, internationally, war. Not just protracted conflict, but they have official war, which means they're putting all of their nation's revenue and resources into the protracted combat and into winning the war. So when saying that he's speaking of, and he's giving you proper actual data on how much was given from the United States to the Ukraine to further this war. Previous to that, he spoke of when the war started was after Kamala Harris went and met with Zelensky. Do you pronounce his name? Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. So putting all that in perspective, he's showing you what we're dealing with.
The thing is, they keep saying, we're not going to give them the long-range missiles. We're not going to give them the short-range missiles because they don't want to escalate it. And then guess what? Then, boom, they get it. Then they said, no. We're not going to give them the HIMARS missiles because those are too good and we don't want to escalate. They gave them the HIMARS missiles. Then they said, no. We're not going to give them F-16s because F-16s, that's going to, basically make us like we're, in the war with Russia. So, no, we're not going to give them F-16s. I'm sorry, F-15s, and all of a sudden now they have the S-15s. They're flying the planes, and they're out there. So everything that I see on this war, they're escalating. And so now, matter of fact, I think it was yesterday, they had the British Prime Minister and everything in Washington, D.C., talking with Biden to allow them to use these weapons directly into Moscow and farther into Russia. And again, that's because they don't want, they're trying not to escalate these things, but I already see what they're doing. They keep doing these things and escalating things. It's in no conversation at all have they even talked to Putin about settling of doing this and that. And yet, when they asked Trump, does he want Ukraine to win? And his answer was he just wants the war to stop. And I thought it was an interesting answer because you look at the actual people that are fighting this war, and these are young kids.
Yes.
And either it might be some of you guys that are military age, you know, or you might have kids that are military age, and these kids have no say in it. They're there in Russia, whatever. They're just young kids, whatever, and they're being sent by these old guys, forced to go, because both in Ukraine, you saw they sealed off the borders and there was no military age men allowed to leave. And the same thing with Russia. They sealed off everything and basically they pull out your name. You have to go ahead and go and fight no matter what.
So pretty much you're going to die.
You're going to die.
It's like over 85% possibility that all the men out there will die.
And the death numbers.
And return under losing parts of their body or ability.
That's the biggest part. There's a big part losing the body, but on the deaths, they got reported as 400,000 of the Russians.
Of the Russians.
Same thing on the Ukrainian side.
Wow,
but you're talking hundreds of thousands of people.
We're going into like 2 million people.
Yep.
A million and a half.
You look at some of these cities in Ukraine, and they're absolutely bombed
and
out.
And that's just the soldier.
Correct.
Not even that many citizens.
They blow up a whole big giant building. It's a high-rise building, and all of a sudden, oh no, there was 3 deaths. Come on, 3 deaths in the whole building. The whole building is gone.
And they're not even mentioning. We're not even mentioning how much residential and commercial property is being obliterated, which means the economy is being crushed. And how much manufactured goods and how many manufactured warehouses are being destroyed.
Yeah.
To keep the society going. How many telecommunication towers are being destroyed. In other words, civilian needs for public health.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And the scale of things that are happening over there is just incredible. And I don't even think we realize the amount of money and the amount of equipment, the amount of stuff that we sent out there. So then now yet, Ukraine wants to be able to reach deeper into Russia, because they want to go ahead and knock out their supply lines, their aircraft, their stuff there. And I understand it. It makes sense. Now, where are Ukraine's supply lines and things like that? They're right across the border in Poland.
So, with you saying that, I have a question. Russia has an ally there, one of the former USSR states. Is it Bulgaria? Belarus. Now, Russia has its own equivalent with what they have, some of their own military staff and their own military artillery. And even I could have swore I heard them speaking about putting nuclear missiles in Belarus.
The thing is, we keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing
so they're
the envelope.
pushing back.
Well, Russia's going to have to push back. You're going to go and push them into a corner. What are they going to go ahead and do? And we keep adding the pressure and adding the pressure. Now, I want to go through the list of some of the stuff that we've actually sent over there. And I'm not knocking it. I'm saying, okay, great, give them everything they need to do, but you need to try to negotiate and say, hey, let's put an end to this. And again, just because I have kids that are basically military fighting age, and man, I don't want my kids to go, to anything, and much less, the way we're heading. Not only are those Ukrainian kids and Russian kids are going to die, so are ours. And the amount of the weapons that right now is just devastating, the amount of weapons.
Yes.
But just to look at through some of these things, because I looked at these yesterday and I myself didn't even realize it. 31 M1 Abrams tanks. Okay, not that much. They got 45 of T-72. I guess they had from somewhere else that they got. I don't know, but the United States gave it to them. Now, they gave them 300 Bradley fighting vehicles. 300 of the Bradley fighting vehicles, which are basically like little mini tanks, and they armored personnel carriers.
300, that's a lot.
300. And they gave them 600 armored personnel carriers, the M113Ss, 300 medical treatment vehicles, 250 M117 ASVs, 189 Stryker vehicles, 4 Bradley command vehicles, post vehicles. They gave them 440 international Max Pro trucks, 37 Cougars, Oshkosh ATVs, I guess the mine-resistant vehicles, Yeah, and 289 MRAPs, which is those are the mine vehicles. Another 190 to the Ukrainian border guard. Infantry mobility vehicles. You guys know the Humvees, the Hummers or whatever, the H1s, which are all armored and stuff now, not like the olden days how they were. They gave them 3,000 plus Humvees.
Wow.
3,000
vehicles. Hold on. They gave Ukrainian 3,000 military-grade Humvees?
Now,
that's insane.
My question
that's a lot of taken away from what we need here.
And I'm not knocking it. If we got it, we got it. But all of this stuff,
I don't think we have it.
How are they getting it over there? It's all coming through Poland.
Not only that, man, it's letting Russia know basically we're in war with them.
That's the way I look at it.
It's letting them know like we're basically prepping ourselves to take the entire Ukrainian over as our own military base.
Yeah. But again, I mean, going on to here, 200 light tactical vehicles. They got 3,000 Humvees, assault breacher vehicle. I mean, some of the stuff I don't even know what it is. 80 trucks and 200 trailers to transport heavy equipment. 6 armored utility trucks, 300 armored medical treatment vehicles, 239 fuel tankers.
Whew, that's crazy.
105 fuel trailers, 8 logistics support vehicles, 58 water trailers, 180 howitzers.
Wow.
The 155 millimeter.
That's extremely expensive.
72 howitzers, the 105 millimeters. The Paladin, the self-propelled artillery, they gave them 18 of those. MLRSs, the multiple rocket launchers, they gave them 20 units of those. Surface-to-air missiles, 12 batteries of the NASAMS. And again, some of this stuff I don't even know what it is. Some of you guys might know more what it is. Generally than that. I mean, there's just list after list after list of what that. Self-propelled anti-aircraft guns. They gave them 9 unmanned aerial systems. 2,000 Stinger anti-aircraft missiles. 10,000 Javelin anti-armor missiles. 90,000 other anti-armor missiles. 9,000 tube-launched wire-guided missiles.
And again, everyone, this is what the United States under Biden has sent to the Ukraine from our own artillery, even though we're at a point where we might actually be in war with Russia ourselves.
Yeah, and our reserves and stuff are down. I mean, if we need to get into something, something like that, it's going to get ugly. I mean, we've got harpoon launchers, we've got guided munitions, HARM missiles, laser-guided rockets, 6,000 Zuni aircraft rockets, 20,000 Hydra 70 aircraft rockets, 160 decoy missiles.
Meanwhile,
missiles for air defense.
Now, all this is being said, we're realizing this, yet we're realizing we're facing what we faced in 2007. We're facing a housing possibility collapse, the housing financial industry collapse. We're facing that again. That hasn't totally been cleansed. We haven't reamped and solidified security and certainty for our housing industry here in the United States. And I mean the financial end of it. Not only that, we have hyperinflation, not just inflation. And we've seen signs that we're going toward deflation, which is very close to a total economic crash, not a subprime, but a full economic crash. Yet we're sending all these artillery into a protracted conflict zone that's a whole nation called the Ukraine, which is fighting our number one opposition adversary, which is Russia. Keep that in mind. How much this is costing just for transportation, fuel, and electronics to transport and to defend the vehicles. Then we're sending manpower there too. It sounds like we're in World War III.
That's what I'm afraid of. And again, I mean, the list of this is just really amazing. 100 Switchblade drones, 300 Switchblade kamikaze drones, 1,800 Phoenix Ghost drones.
Those drones, by the way, in the United States cost $5,000 to $10,000. You have to understand those are those high-powered drones that can shoot you down from a far distance.
Radar. They got radar systems, weapon locating radars, Sentinel air surveillance radars, over 100 counter artillery and counter mortar radars, 50 multi-mission radars, engineering equipment. They got M58 mine clearing line charges, Hercules vehicles, tactical recovery vehicles, 1,000 tactical vehicles to tow and haul equipment. Just on and on. 30 ammunition support vehicles, 18 armored bridging systems. Now, 16 Mark patrol boats, 10 Dauntless Sea Ask patrol boats, 2 small river craft. All these kind of little small, boats and things and armored.
So let me ask you, what does this mean if Donald Trump became the president in a few months? What would he have to do to end this situation with the heightened level of protracted combat, a full-blown declaration of war, not just conflict, not just possibilities Ukraine and Russia is actually in a full-blown pronounced war.
All right.
So what would Donald Trump be inheriting, and what would he have to do?
I'm going to hold off that question just for about 3 minutes.
No problem.
Okay. Again, this list goes on and on
Wow,
and on
financial
and on
aid.
and on and stuff. just tons and tons of stuff.
It says financial aid.
Let's just skip over that. I want you to look here. I know you guys can't see the computer here, but it's all on Wikipedia. So this is exactly where I got it from. And if you look at this is just the United States. And you have all these other countries
giving so much to Ukraine.
You just go here. There's so much vehicles, so much stuff, so much things coming across. This is not a little war by any means. It is huge, big. And
yes.
My thing is this: I'm not knocking, I'm not judging, I'm not saying that Russia didn't do good, or I'm not on Russia's side. The only thing that I'm saying is, hey, let's get people to stop dying. And can Donald Trump?
It's not good karma for us.
It's just.
I just personally don't mean to get too spiritual, but I don't think it's good karma for us, because this is something I always teach. I tell women that come to me to complain about their relationships, young men that come to me complain about their relationships with women. I tell them, you have no right to be supporting a bad man, a man living wrong. He's living against right over wrong. He's living for wrong over right.
Yeah.
You have no right to be supporting this woman that's living wrong over right. And then you get in this, and then things happening to you in the next few months with a different woman or with a different man. It's because you deserve it, because they were your friend or they were your relative. You're supporting them while they're hurting an innocent person. So the same thing, I feel like the United States in certain ways have been supporting, not that a country is bad, but a country can be under a bad leadership. A people isn't bad. There's good and bad amongst people. But their leadership could be crud for a certain time. And then if our country is helping that leadership, then we're asking for bad karma.
Only thing that I say, you're talking about Donald Trump, we'll talk about more about that in a minute, but right now, everything that I see from Biden and everything I see from Kamala, you can look at Kamala's policies right now, and she has said, for the little policies that she says, we support Ukraine 100%, no matter what happens, we're going to go ahead and support Ukraine. And that's all great and everything, and I'm not saying no, but have they ever even tried to settle this war or to do anything to stop it? No. Everything that they do is to escalate, and they don't stop it. Now, before you start sending all the stuff, you say, hey, look, Russia, this is what's going to happen. We're going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
Okay? And I'm sorry, I don't normally do cuss. I'm supposed
you can cuss. You can cuss.
And you can go ahead and do it. But if I say, if I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to fuck you up, and this is what's going to happen if you don't do it. So either you're going to go ahead and settle this shit and put it up, or this is going to happen. But they're not doing that. They keep, okay, M1 Abrams tanks. Okay, long-range missiles. Okay, F-16s. Okay, now you can go ahead and use them and bomb Russia. What are they going to do? Russia, I think, is...
I think you're right. The diplomacy is awful.
10 times the size, and again, I don't know the numbers, but I think it's 10 times the amount of size, or probably more than the size of Ukraine. They have the resources, they have the money, they have the manpower. Eventually, Ukraine's going to run out of soldiers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? Because they don't have an infinite supply. I mean, they're tiny compared to what Russia is.
So know what this sounds like to me? Watch this. You know what this sounds like they're doing? By the time Ukraine says we don't have any soldiers, we've got everybody out, we got all of their assets out, they're living in different countries. Now NATO, I think United States and NATO is going to send everyone in, and they're going to announce what they want to do. I think once they send everyone in from NATO and the United States to occupy the Ukraine and everywhere they can, threatening Russia, like if it happened at the end of 2025. Wait, watch this. This is what I think is a possibility. I think once they do that, they want to force Putin to be the one to declare war against NATO or to declare war against the United States.
I agree, and I don't think NATO is going to go ahead and get involved directly into that.
I think so.
But I do think, and again, we're bombing their supply lines, and where's Ukraine's supply lines? They're right, thousands and thousands of vehicles, 3,000 vehicles, tanks, armored, ammunition.
Right.
It's all coming from Poland. So, I mean, if you really look at it, well, what's wrong with them bombing Poland? And now once they bomb Poland, then all of a sudden the NATO gets involved in it. And that's exactly what I don't want.
Right.
And it's just, Trump says that he can go ahead and settle this in 24 hours. Maybe not.
Right.
But at least I like the conversation that he's having, that he wants to do that. He doesn't want the war. And I just feel, I go back to the same thing. Dick Cheney and all these warmongers and all these people they're all in the industrial war complex, everything. They want this to continue. They want it to keep going. And we can send all of the hardware, everything that we want, but eventually they're going to run out of manpower. And either then it was for nothing, and they're going to lose the war anyways, or we're going to have to put the boots on the ground. And that's, again, what I don't want. And I would just love...
I don't think it's avoidable anymore.
But I'll tell you this, I think it is avoidable. Putin doesn't want this. He doesn't want his kids dying. He's got a very big risk right now of what's going on in this country. And I think finally they're starting to see what's happening. I don't think the people are happy about it. And he would love for somebody to give him a way out.
Absolutely. I agree on that.
Okay.
Yet... Putin is a hardened.
He's a hardened whatever, but he's not stupid.
No, he's not stupid.
And you get pushed into the corner, and all of a sudden you get NATO into it. What is he going to do? Is he going to be able to beat NATO? I don't think he is. But you know what? A couple nuclear bombs here, there, whatever. And I don't think we need to even play that game.
I think there's something that's not being said, and that is, I think the United States specifically wants the World War. And I'm not talking about all of us agreeing but I think it seems to me, sorry to say, but the oligarchs of some on the Democrat side and some on the Republic, some in the intelligence agencies, some not, some in the administrative state, some not, some in the military and some not. I think some do want World War III to escalate to the point of protracted conflict and pronounced war between Russia and the United States.
I agree. Because when you look at this, I think there's like $180 billion of aid that's been going out to Ukraine. But yet you look at, are they just wire transferring $180 billion to Ukraine? No, they're not. What are they doing? Sending 3,000 Humvees, F-16s, tanks, and all that kind of stuff. So where do they go? Where are they buying this equipment? They're buying it here. So this money is going back into the United States, into these basically war machines, the industrial war complex, because these billions of dollars are being spent here. But obviously we're paying for it and sending it over there. But it's these companies are the ones that are making the money. And that's why I think they don't want to stop these wars, because they just have too much money to be able to make. And that's the sad thing. These guys, they're worried about making the money, but they're not worried about the deaths of these young children.
Right.
And maybe years ago, I wouldn't even think this way. But now when I think about it, I look at the war, and I look at these Russian guys or whatever, and on both sides, you look at the Russian guys, and you look at the Ukrainian sides, and they're there, and they're giving up, and they're trying to, become POWs or whatever. Can you just imagine the fear in these poor young kids' minds and their eyes? just to be in the amount of firepower that's falling upon them, because it's not just like they're shooting rifles back and forth. They're shooting missiles. They're shooting, all these kind of horrific things. Because I'm telling you, the United States is amazing when it comes to absolute destruction.
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay? When it was Fallujah and they're going from building to building and they really can't just blow up every single damn building, it was a little different. But when it's just to go ahead and walk, and we've seen that in the Iraq war and Afghanistan, when it's just to go ahead and just call in there and, and whatever it is, call in airstrikes and this and that, and you got the infantry and you got this, and the amount of firepower and the amount of death and destruction that's there is just immense.
Donald Trump had a great relationship with Putin. He kept us out of this mess while he was the president. And also, I think the pandemic helped us. I noticed once the pandemic cleared up, everyone, that certain things escalated. Like I don't know if any of you lived in ghettos like I did, but I lived in the worst community in the United States for a specific year. The city had the highest murder rate. That Pacific neighborhood that I lived in had the highest murder rate. I actually knew everybody that was killing and dying. So I know how in all the neighborhoods I lived in before that, whether it was the Gerson Park in Las Vegas, whether it was in South Central, LA, the Bay, wherever my mom and aunties and wherever I end up living, it was always tragic. Even when I was in Shreveport, Louisiana, when I was a child. So I know how it feels that the gun clapping is going on and bodies are dropping and people are getting shot. Like I got shot when I was 12, so years old. So I don't know if everybody really takes the time out to realize the tragedies of what's going on in Haiti, Congo, Israel and Palestine, and in Ukraine, and what's going on in the bordering areas of Russia to Ukraine. So I just feel like the two things that really turned me to Donald Trump was that Donald Trump never wanted the border to be that way that it is. That's a big problem because I'm in a border state. I'm in California, and when people see me, they say that's an African American. So what happens is a lot of people that are illegally coming to America, they've been informed negatively of African Americans, and they've been kind of bullying us or distrustful. Some come and bond with and even have babies with African Americans. But what I'm saying is the fact that we're an unprotected community, it's like I could go a whole week and not have any contact with African Americans because I don't live in an African American neighborhood. But people don't think that when they see me, so they think that whatever's going on in their head about us, the ones that have negative things, and they'll put up that bad energy. Or maybe they'll administratively block me if I'm applying for something or seeking. And so what I'm saying is, that made me say, hey, I always took up for what's called Paisa, Hispanics and stuff. I actually bonded with them more than I did with American Hispanics. But something changed when I moved back to California some years back. And it's been like the Hispanics, Americans bond with African Americans. And now it's like the Hispanics that come on over, of course, some bond with African American, but the more majority, and I mean the ones that come illegally, they are on some kind of protect themselves, and African Americans are the bad guys type of thing. So that made me say, hey, Donald Trump is looking out for all the people, not even excluding African Americans, or Black Americans, whatever you want to call it. So like, then the other thing about Donald Trump, which was always my argue point, Donald Trump does not want us to go into World War III. He's not a puppet of some system. So you have to understand that no matter what the Democrat is, they're a puppet They don't have money and power to decide for themselves. Whoever the shadow government is, they're completely, everyone listening, they're completely using the Democrats. I'm not taking anything away from Harris or Biden. They're good. Everybody has pros and cons, right? But what I'm saying is the Democrats as a whole are being used to be a war machine, and specifically to instigate the bullying of the Palestinian citizenry, the bullying of the Haitian citizenry, the bullying of the Congolese for their natural resources and the Haitians, the bullying of etc. The Republicans have their own money. They have their own power. I'm not talking about the redneck racists. I'm talking about the actual political powered Republicans. They can say no to whoever these shadow government people are, and they do when it comes to warring with Russia.
All right, you jumped around on a bunch of different subjects there.
I kind of was trying to appeal to some of my guests.
You said one thing that I'm going to correct you on. You said that we live in a border state.
Yes.
You're incorrect.
Okay, explain.
We live in a border country.
Whoo, fire.
Okay, and why are we a border country? Because it's no longer border states. The border states is, California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. But right now we are a border country because, first of all, these people are coming across the border. And you look at El Paso. I have a friend that lives in El Paso. They're actually from Chihuahua, Mexico. And they live in El Paso. They actually went back to Chihuahua, Mexico, because they said that El Paso was so dangerous. There's so many damn immigrants that they said it was safer in Chihuahua.
Don't forget to call in, folks. You can call in. You will be heard clearly, and everything you say will be acknowledged. You leave comments, we will respond and read your comments.
Now, they tell me that when you go into El Paso, Texas, it's basically there. They have services they're setting up, and they say, hey, where do you want to go? You want to go to New York? You want to go to Sanctuary City? You want to go here, there? And they'll bus you and they'll take you. So that's what I'm saying, is that they are not a sanctuary state. Now it's a sanctuary country. In addition to that, there is, and I know the last time we talked about that, the CBP One app that you can actually apply for the parole program, and it's a concierge service, and they will fly you directly into, whatever state in the United States is. So that's what I'm saying. It's no longer a border city or a border state or something like that. It's a border country now because, look at this big old conversation that we're having about I kind of wish that Trump hadn't done this when we talked about the cats, because I kind of cringed when I heard about the cats and the dogs that are eating the pets.
I know. It gave ammo.
Joke. It was a big joke, and I kind of cringed when I heard it. But I believe it. I think it's true. And because, I've traveled the world. I've seen.
Human beings are going to eat.
I've been fed some strange things in China.
Let me tell you something.
Okay.
I lived in Botswana for back and forth from South Africa to Botswana. Do you know Botswana? Like in China, they eat a lot of. In Botswana, they're known about all the Africans to eat. I've ate monkey brains.
Okay, and it's nothing
in real life.
Nothing strange to them. And like I said, I'm not going to get into all the disgusting stuff because I would go in there for business. They're trying to impress me. No, special dish, and I'm like, I'm not eating that shit.
Right.
So I know different countries. They'll eat whatever, and they'll eat dogs, and they'll eat this, and they'll eat snakes, and they'll eat all kinds of stuff. And like I said, I don't want to get into that because it's that. So I believe yes, it is true. They I don't know how we got to the subject about the damn cats and dogs and stuff like that.
Well, I started bringing up the border and everything. How Trump won support on that.
Talking about like I say, the border country that we're into right now and the amount of people that are coming over. And we jumped around a lot. You were talking about the economics and the stuff. And I there's so many different things that my head was spinning when you were talking because there's so many topics that we get into, because I think that's something that we can go ahead and talk about that too.
Let's
but we talked about the border.
Finance and economics. Let's do it.
Let me go and finish a couple things. I want you to think about right now. China, let's just pick China, for instance. China right now has 1.4 billion people. 1.4 billion people. I have traveled many times to China. I did a lot of business in China. I visited the factories in Xiamen and everything many times.
Right.
The workers in China, the owner of that factory, they got 5,000 employees, actually lives in Anaheim Hills here. I'm not going to mention his name because he's here.
Wow.
So the family lives here, but he's got 5,000 employees in this factory.
He must be a Tong.
Well, I'm not gonna get into details because
you know about the tongues.
Not necessarily, but
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I don't want to say any names because he's a pretty well-known person. But all I'm gonna say is he lives in Anaheim Hills in a beautiful gated community.
Awesome.
With his family there, and so we would go travel out there and go look at the factories, and he used to tell us, no, I pay my workers $1.25 a day. Okay, they work 10 hours a day. And they work 7 days a week.
Yeah.
The only day off they get is the last Sunday of the month. So one day off of the month. So my question to you, 1.4 billion people in China. How many of those 1.4 billion, if they were given the opportunity, would like to come to the United States?
Any of them.
Well, I'd probably say 99% because not all of them would come. Because although I guess he's Chinese, he's here already, so it's like he's a multi-billionaire or whatever. So it doesn't make sense. So the guys that have the factories and they've got all the stuff, they got the money, and they're with the government and stuff. They're not going to come because they have the good thing.
Absolutely.
But anybody who's given the opportunity to come to the United States, they're going to be here. 1.4 billion. So let's say 1.3 billion are going to come here. Why don't they come here? They're not allowed to leave.
They're not allowed.
They're not allowed to leave. Okay, so that's just China. Let's just say, let's leave. Let's pick. Who else do you want to pick on? Let's pick on
Iran.
Let's go a little closer. Let's just go and just say
Mexico.
Cuba.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what the population in Cuba is, but if given the opportunity, and if you want to check out the situation of Cuba, go look at YouTube and stuff like that. Do a little bit of research.
Look at boxing.
Well,
the elitist, some of the most elite and most skillful boxers come from Cuba, and they
got the baseball players and this and that, but
they had to escape.
Well, but you look. Well, that's not a Cuban. That's an American now because that's here. But the Cubans that are in Cuba, they're starving. They can't buy food because they have a libreta. They call it a little booklet, and you're told what you can buy, and everything is rationed out. It's just
they still do
terrible.
that.
It's still done today the way it is. It's a terrible situation. But again, out of all the residents in Cuba, how many do you think, if they were given an opportunity to put a cruise ship there, who wants to come to the United States? They would all come here. Now go with Mexico. If you open up to Mexico, now Mexico, a lot of professionals, a lot of people with money, they're not going to come. There's no need to come.
Right.
But anybody who's on a lower income, lower wage, and again, it's hard to say this. What did Trump say? They're not sending their best. Okay. I had a girlfriend that I dated many times in Mexico. She was actually a doctor.
Yeah.
And she had a visa to come back and forth. She's not going to come to the United States. Because she's making a lot of money and she's happy in Mexico. But everybody who is not.
This is a very good point.
Would be here. So you can add now, let's go to Venezuela. They would kill to be in the United States.
Yes.
If there was no wall, if there was no nothing, the United States would be, I was going to say the same as some of these other countries, but I'm going to call it that we would become a shithole. Overnight with that amount of people just coming over here because it's just unsustainable. And that's now, if you want to go ahead and get into some of the economics of it and some things like that, we can talk about that now.
Well, it throws off just like it's about 3,500 years ago or 2,500 years ago, there was a leader in Africa, North Africa, known as Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was inherited the most amount of wealth on the earth at the time. Mansa Musa was being threatened by Muhammad at the time. Mansa Musa, Muhammad had destroyed northern, western Africa and eastern northern Africa with his war machines. Mansa Musa sent peace and sent so much gold and gave so much gold over to Muhammad that it destroyed their economy. It destroyed and that was just a small amount of the gold that the West Africans had.
Yeah.
But it destroyed their economy because he didn't send it all at once as an ambassador to Muhammad. He sent it little by little to this king, this chief, in this Muslim chief, this Arab chief. He did it that way, and it flooded their economy where even gold didn't have as much worth. So if you're sending over these people who are willing to do anything for the smallest amount, no longer does service work have value.
Well, the
you understand
problem,
what I'm saying? Because you got people that's come flooding in the United States. that let's look at something illegal, prostitution. So if you have women and young men that are coming over here, they're willing to sleep with anybody, male or female, because they got these needs, not just regular needs. Some of them are just doing it because they like getting high and partying. They want to live that life they were still living. They got habits. Some of them just got to do it because they want to feed their kids and keep a roof over their head,
I think
right?
that's the bigger portion of it.
But it's killing the value for whoever the Americans was in that specific industry doing their sex work. It kills the value. It brings down the amount that the solicitors have to pay, tricks. You see what I'm saying? So the same with functionaries. Like I met a guy when I bought the mattress, that brand new mattress I just brought in here and stuff. It was a guy that works at the location where the guy that sold me the mattress, he offered his service. He's a handyman. He does all kind of stuff. He has a couple of trucks and all kind of equipment, right? But if you get a couple of thousand handyman coming in here from Central America a day, then on the East Coast, you have about 1,000 handymen coming in a day through the Caribbean, through the oceans, through the boats. How much does a handyman have value any longer? How much should you pay them? And so what I'm saying is it's affecting our financial life and our economy. It's not the only, inflation isn't only because the Democrats are printing money that with no backing. Inflation is also because the Democrats keep letting over a million people into our country from all over the world through different areas and different means.
I think we're jumping all over a million different topics and a million different things.
I just spoke specifically to I'm adding something to the conversation. They're creating multiple different devaluing of our economy and our personal finance through letting all these illegal people come here, because these people coming over here with at least the ability to work, which means it's not that they're taking people's jobs, they're devaluing how much you pay someone because there's so many people that'll do it and for such a low amount. They're throwing the entire economy off, not just by the Democrats, by overprinting finance through the feds, but they're also causing a problem by allowing so many illegal people come here. It's not only the criminals, it's also the working class not just because they're taking people's jobs, but because they're creating a situation where that service no longer has a value to it. There's people everywhere that'll do it.
All right. Well, like I say,
you didn't hear, but you never thought about that.
No, I did, but there's just so many small little pieces from that's what I'm saying. It was so many things, different things that you talked about, and I just go back to these people that are coming across. They're coming across with nothing, and they're being given what U.S. citizens don't get, what U.S. veterans don't get. We've got veterans in the street, and we've got less fortunate people that are on the street. And I never go into race and this and that. I just call them people and Americans, because we have Americans that are up on the street right now, and we're not helping our own people first. And yet these people are coming. They're getting bus tickets, plane tickets. They get to New York. I had some notes here. It was really interesting. I don't know where they're at, but it was something that I think it was New York City is spending like $57 million a year just on housing for these people. They're giving. I should hopefully. I don't know what the hell these notes are. This is pretty good.
So basically, everyone, New York and California has that in common. They're like sanctuary entire states.
Okay. The same thing, I guess, as Ohio with dogs. Same thing. There's sanctuary city, sanctuary state. So they're there. So they're getting free housing. They're staying in 4- and 5-star hotels. I had all the numbers and everything. I just don't know where it's at right now, but it's just astronomical.
That's crazy.
They're staying there now. In particular, I know the Venezuelans, they like to eat specific food, so they all complained they didn't like the food, so they switched them, and now they're giving them EBT cards and debit cards so they can buy whatever they want to. That's nice, but I mean, how many of you guys out there would like to get that help? As an American, and we don't get it.
Absolutely, but we will get handcuffs put on us real quick if we do the slightest bit of illegal activity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's what I think is the unfairness. Now, I know a lot of people, oh no, we have to help out the world and we have to help out this and we have to go ahead and do this. Yeah, I understand to go ahead and do that, but a lot of you guys that are out there, first of all, I believe in controlled immigration. We're going to come up with what the numbers are, and that's it. And we're going to let this amount come in, and that's it. We're going to vet them. We're going to vet them. We're going to check them. We're going to see who they are, and then let them in. Now, there's a lot of people out there that are open borders. Oh no, open borders. This is the world. This is that, and this is the way it is. And we have to accept everybody. I'm going to challenge you. If you're into open borders, how many people are you willing to house inside your house?
Right. It's a laughing matter to act like.
You can go ahead and talk all a bunch of bullshit, but when it comes back, are you going to actually house some of these? Are you going to bring a nice Haitian family or a Venezuelan family into your home and bring them in? Oh, no. As long as it's in somebody else's home, that's okay, good. But yet, who's paying for all this stuff? You are. You're paying for it.
It's compounded what they're doing and how it's affecting Americans like you and me, United States citizens like you and me. It's so thick, just that one particular issue. Now, when they say immigration, even though I'm right here at the south border being in California, I lived in New York multiple different times, long enough to know how it is. I lived in D.C. I worked with the federal government, et cetera, et cetera. I lived in the South. So for me, it's immigration, Dominicans, immigration, Jamaicans, immigration, Ghanaians, immigration, Nigerians. I'm not thinking like a lot of Californians and western southern state citizens when they hear immigration. They just think about California. Me, I think about the country. So I think about Filipinos sneaking into Hawaii. You getting it? Yeah. It's illegal immigration precedes the Southwest, I wanted to say.
I did find some of those numbers for New York that I had. And it's talking about New York right now spending $387 per migrant each day as Mayor Eric Adams tries to slash the spending amid the influx of they got 65 migrants
that's
that they're currently
that's
housing.
New York's own revenue that they're spending?
$387 per day for every migrant. And they got 65,000 migrants right now under the city care. New York State has spent more than and I said million. It's $5 billion on the migrant crisis in this year. $5 billion on the migrants.
That's ridiculous.
Okay, so the spending per day, the average daily cost of sheltering an asylum seeker is projected to be $386 for the 2024 fiscal year and $352 for the 2025 fiscal year. So spending per migrant, the daily care cost per migrant was $388, which includes costs for housing and humanitarian response, relief centers. So spending each year, the city was expected to spend this $5 billion. The interesting thing, they're spending up on the debit cards, providing the migrants with $350 per week in debit cards, which is more than the average. The low-income, elderly, or disabled U.S. citizens, and through the food stamps, are getting an average of $291 a month. Wow! So U.S. citizens are getting $291 a month for the elderly and disabled, and yet the migrants are getting 4 times that amount. Which that's why I say it's unfair.
It is unfair.
It's just simply unfair. Now, the thing is this. One of the biggest things that's happening right now is
it's cynically, it's like you laugh at something because it's so cynical. Yeah. It brings out like an insane laugh. That's how I feel about this specific thing, because it seems so simple to solve. But one thing I realized studying political science, it helped me to realize everyone in traveling and studying and teaching and having my own business in different countries, actually living in those nations, it made me realize so many people want to come to the United States. So
Absolutely.
that's part of the problem. The appeal that the United States gave in the early 1900s, from about the year 1900 up, everyone in the United States allowed and sent boats to Europe to bring Europeans to America, to the major cities, and even to some to the Midwest, gave them land. From that point on, the United States has been the one place in the world where everybody want to move to and live and do business.
You were talking about when the United States started, and people say that, oh, this country was built on immigrants. I say, I need to correct that a little bit. This country was built on settlers, not immigrants.
Absolutely.
Now, what's the difference between a settler and an immigrant? I'm going to tell you, a settler comes to something that's not built and builds it. An immigrant comes to something that's already built. Now, I'm not saying that immigrants didn't help out the country, but it was made by settlers, not immigrants. So I think it's a very important distinction.
That's awesome. That's very important input.
Yeah. Now, this with New York. There's no exit strategy for these people. What are they going to do? They just keep housing them forever, and it keeps getting larger and larger and larger and larger every single month. Now, I know what's going to happen. I believe right now there are vouchers or whatever, or this housing is supposed to be 6 months, and then they could reapply again and get another 6 months. What happens when that ends? And these people don't have jobs or don't have money. Well, guess what? Crime is going to increase, and things like that. And that's what people don't think about.
Well, we're programmed not to think about it, but we're going to have to ease our way out of this specific chat. I want to go a little bit into the elections because we need to settle some matters in regard and inform people on a few things. A lot of you need to know how the conflict areas in the world that the United States is obviously involved in are affecting the outcome of these elections. You need to know how the elections are going to affect the outcome of that. But what you need to know is these conflict areas, Taiwan versus China, and the United States involvement in that, and responsibilities and duties in that. Israel, period. Israel is very important when it comes to natural resource trade and information access and trade and world global finance. How the United States is involved with Israel in the conflict with the different Arab states. Then you have to know what's going on with Ukraine, Russia, and the Ukrainian allies and their allies. How that's affecting our economy. We've already talked about immigration. We're talking in simple terms, and we're talking at a slow pace. You need to realize that Taiwan develops just how important the natural resource is in Congo for telecommunication devices to even exist. You need the Congo and the cobalt, which is the natural resource that has the right natural magnetism, and right metallic form and ability to conduct energy all in one to allow your telecommunication device that you're watching and hearing this on to work. Well, in Taiwan, they actually produce almost all of the world's specific microchips, which allow for not only quantum computing and specific devices, which allow for computers and any internet, web existence and work and functions. So the Congo and Taiwan, economics, impossible to ignore these things because you have the financial system in your mind for your personal life. The economic is which affects us all on the macro level. Your finances is your micro. You have to deal with the reality of certain specific countries, and the issues there affect all of us in extremely either positive, beneficial, or harsh way. So the Congo being in that disparaged condition and Taiwan being on the verge of being invaded or bombed out, where will the telecommunication chips and whatnot be developed? Nowhere else in the world are these specific chips and technology developed but in Taiwan. Think China's going to keep allowing them to provide that for us without not only being taxed, but without them being the beneficiary? Think about what that's saying, how that affects our economy. How if our presidential administration is communication in dealing with those conflicts, with the actors in the conflict? How's the United States for a specific presidential, if it's Donald Trump that's in office, he might work good with Putin because he has a good relationship. But how's his relationship with China's leader and in regards to the specific issues with Taiwan? How does Donald Trump deal with Netanyahu and his tyrannical rule over clearly not just Israel, but Palestine? This is what we're talking about. We're not just talking about elections. We're not just talking about immigration. We're trying to tie it all in to have a holistic perspective because they want us all to feel disempowered. Like, if you put out certain energy, Tupac said thug life. Then he got it tattooed on his chest, right? His stomach, whatever. He kept putting that energy out. So many people that were already thugging felt empowered. They start doing things. He started talking about getting businesses, get your money. Quit running to jail. Quit letting yourself get caught up in crazy situations with crazy women. It start changing people's mentality, having more confidence in the right thing. Where being a thug wasn't as bad because being a thug didn't require as bad behavior. So this is the importance of this in your own life, to be hearing these conversations and to tune in to DAVIDEMETRI Live in Color. Keep checking in. And remember, you can call in. The number's right there on the screen. You can comment. We'll read your comment. We're right here for you. Nadine.
No, it's definitely, we have to think of the, world conflicts and the whole entire world and the relationship there. And I just think all of these things, the open conversation is important.
Absolutely.
And not escalating things. Yet one important thing that Reagan always said, and one of his policies was peace through strength.
President Reagan?
No, yes. And that was one thing that I always taught my kids when they were very young. And I used to take them to jiu-jitsu and karate and all these bunch of different things. And I always told them, when you know how to fight, you don't get into fights.
Wow.
But when you don't, and you're whatever word you want to insert in there, you're weak in this, that's when the bullies are going to pick on you. But I want the United States military to be strong, the strongest in the world, and basically feared. It doesn't mean that you need to use it, but as long as they know that you're there and you're strong and you're willing to use it, then I think there's a better chance that you don't have to.
I want to mention something because you're absolutely right, and that's very wise wisdom. That's not just philosophy, that's wisdom, what you just said, on multiple levels. But I want to mention something. Donald Trump came out and said he wants to push for cryptocurrency and for a blockchain to be better developed. Like, there's a gentleman that is a statesman. His name is Dr. Jamar Montgomery. He's actually tuned in right now. He's very experienced. He travels the world globally. He's an American statesman. He's an African American. This guy is really knowing about blockchain governance and the use of it, and he's also knowing about crypto and the private industry and how to get some money in the bank. And so I thought that was spectacular. Like, I just went to the convention, the NAB convention, the National Association for Broadcasters, a couple of months ago, and I'm a member. Yearly when I go, it's always a reminder of the power of technology and the importance of us. And what people need to know, the value of someone like Donald Trump, and it's not just Donald Trump. There's presidents that did negotiations. Barack Obama did a lot of negotiations, but he ended up doing murder. But the good thing about Donald Trump wanting to make peace is if we can possibly clean up Haiti, help clean up Haiti, help clean up the Congo, help fix in the conflict in Russia and Ukraine, help in the conflict in Palestine, in Israel, and in these places, then we can get them better technology. They can invest their resources. Guess who they're going to buy these technology from? The United States of America. They're going to buy our production of these technologies, our telecommunications, because guess what? That means we fix them instead of going to war with them. That means they're basically liable like Japan was, liable like the Philippines was, liable like West European was to buy our goods. So that's kind of like why we need someone that's going to have good relationships with would-be adversaries.
Yes, but in order to be able to help out these other countries, there's something important that has to be done first, and that's help ourselves.
Absolutely.
And for us to have a good economy. If we don't have an economy,
that's real talk.
If we don't have a good economy here, there's very little that we can do for the rest of the world. And I think that's a very sad thing to think about. But you look at the economy right now, it was interesting because I was looking at a bunch of different stores and stuff closing and going out of business, and like you look at the news and they say, oh my God, the economy is so great and this and that, and yet I think it was the 99-cent stores, there's 375 stores closing down, and I'm like, man, that's just incredible. I just saw there was 6 Starbucks that are closing here in the LA area. When is a Starbucks gonna go out of business? But the crime was so tough in these areas that they closed down. Now you look at Oakland. In Oakland, I think it was In-N-Out. In-N-Out in their history, they have never, ever, have they ever closed the location down, except for now they closed the Oakland location. Why?
You're talking about the Starbucks.
Well, the Starbucks was 6 in the Los Angeles here that are closing. And then with Oakland, it was In-N-Out, and I think there was a Denny's and a couple of different restaurants because the crime is so high that they're closing these down. Now, the 99-cent store, it was a couple of months ago, and I was there, and I was shopping, and I had my shopping cart, and I'm waiting to pay for it by the line. And 2 guys with big old shopping carts all full of stuff, they just walk right by, and they say, oh, bye, and they wave to the girl. They just walk out the store. And I look at the girl, and I'm like, what is it? I was like, oh, well, we can't tell them anything because...
in San Francisco.
No, this was in San Bernardino that happened. Ooh. And I felt like an idiot because I'm here waiting in line to go pay for my shit.
Oh, so you were at the Ralph's?
No, at the 99-cent store.
Oh, that's terrible, man. I wouldn't even go to a 99-cent store in San Bernardino.
Well, I happened to be there.
Right.
I'm paying for my stuff, and I felt like an idiot. Waiting in line when they just 2 shopping carts full of stuff. They just walk around, and not only that, they had the balls just to wave and just say, "Okay, bye, see you tomorrow."
Yeah, they don't give a fuck.
They don't give a shit.
Hell no, not in San Bernardino.
And I said that, but yet it's not just San Bernardino because 375 stores closed, so it's not just there. Now, the other day I went. I was actually in North Carolina. I went out there for the Trump rally.
Oh, it really? When?
Yeah, about a month ago. The Trump
I didn't
rally.
know that.
Absolutely. So I was out there for the Trump rally, and I get to LAX, and they took away my gel because it was, I'm going to blow up the plane with something with it, whatever. So they took it away. So I went to a CVS store over there, and shit, everything was locked up behind glass. I'm trying to get these girls, oh, can you help me? Oh, yeah, well, we'll be right there. And I'm just waiting, and it's just ridiculous. So now you can go buy a deodorant, you can buy a shaver, you can buy everything. I mean, here, even in LA, wherever it is, everything is locked up. Why? Because they go and they steal everything. The CVS stores, a bunch of CVSs have closed, they've gone out of business. And yet they're telling us how beautiful and how wonderful the economy is. You just go to YouTube or Google and just put store closings in general, and you're going to see the hundreds and thousands of stores that are going to business. There's restaurants. You look, I think it was the Buffalo Wild Wings was closing 50% of the restaurants. Red Lobster, which was one of my favorite places. And I think there's one close by here, and I keep saying, man, I want to go before they shut that shit down.
It's right there off 4th.
Yeah, but I know they're supposed to closing like almost all of them.
You got to go eat there now. They got it. They say come now. They have a sign because I guess they're going to shut
when I
down.
Get out of here, I'm
it's like
go
50%.
Okay, but they're closing all these stores down. You know, and it's just incredible. All these business stuff are going out because of the crime, because of the way things are, because of the way the economy, because of the prices and everything. And
I want to bring something up. I feel like we're facing financial depravity and risk because of karma. I feel like we're getting karma right now financially, and the reason why I'm saying that, I feel like our government helped the bad people instead of helping the good people. And like I was saying
don't think
earlier,
it's karma. I just think we have a stupid government is what I think.
Well, yeah, and so what I'm saying is,
it's a combination of a lot of things.
If you get these people that got this secret agenda that's opposite of what they're promoting and what they propagate and preach, then it's like what Jesus said in the Bible, the Pharisees and Sadducees, talking about how they're hypocrites. They say one thing, but they do another. And so that's what I mean by karma. I feel like we're eating the junk food that the wealthy and political class left behind. And when I say junk food, I feel like we have a nationwide, basically, recession that's not being said what it is. And it's because we're financing things we shouldn't be and supporting those that we shouldn't be supporting. Our government is, and our nation's oligarchs.
Yeah.
Let's say it like it is. We live in an oligarch/plutocracy. We don't live in some Democrat utopian like they preach it to be. And we're not even pushing toward a utopian democracy. That's what us people want. But honestly, the political class, the highest level of investment class, and the oligarchs, and some of them are, I assume it seems like, are the aristocrats. They, in no way, form, or fashion, want us to reach any, clearly they don't want us to reach any democratic utopia or heavenly capitalist democratic utopia. It seems like they want us completely in an oligarch plutocracy. That's right. It has to be looked at as an oligarch plutocracy. Now, these are the same people that are paying the people, the specific group, that say Donald Trump is a tyrant. He wants fascism. How about recognizing the level of fascism we're living in now? Because I can't say what I want on social media. I can't express distrust of certain people, because if I say the type of people they are, my social credit is taken. And like that Black Mirror episode, in some of China, the most developed cities in China, your currency is your social credit. So what are we headed toward? It's so dynamic, the potential and probabilities, and that's why I talk about it, but I try to, as this gentleman do, stick with facts and current realities. Just like I don't go too deep into the past. We try to stay level so we can bring value to who you are now. But yet, we have to see that some shadow government and some shadow leader group is puppeteering both sides. We have a two-headed snake as a government. Two parties. Every nation in this world has more parties than two parties. Every nation but the United States has more than two parties. That's retarded. To be on a 1700 system, you only had 13 colonies when they did that. It made sense. Just like they'll teach you in political science, democracy, the truest democracy is under a small, like, local government covering only a couple of, like, 5,000-10,000 people. Once you get too many people, you got to go representative, and then you get too many people, the representative becomes corrupt. It's not real democracy any longer. And yeah, there is a standard of check and measurement. Not going to go there. But what I'm saying, to add to him and what he's saying, is that we're living in circumstances and situations that can be better at home. Then we can navigate the international. But whether we like it or not, the reason why I brought all that up, we're affected at home by those international affairs, international trade, international laws, international relationships. And then we have the intelligent agencies of the world and their secret wars with one another.
Yeah, you said it. You said it. I just think a lot of the government right now wants to make you dependent on the government. They don't want you to be, independent to make your own money. They want you to be depending on the government for everything. And I've seen the communist countries that this is the way that they function. And I mean, I'll give you an example of I can talk about Venezuela and Cuba because I have a lot of connection to those two countries. And when they say, oh, hey, we got to go ahead and go to a rally to go ahead and support Maduro, if you don't go, you don't get paid.
In Venezuela?
Absolutely. You have to go ahead and go.
Oh, that's
and
crazy.
Wear your little red shirt
That's
with
communist.
Maduro. And well, that's exactly what it is. And you have to go ahead and go. But if you don't go, you don't get paid. So the people have to go ahead and go. And the same thing, it's in Cuba, it's the same thing. But they're dependent because they have to go ahead and get, in Venezuela, a lot of people get, I don't know why they call it, it's an ugly name, but they call it the clap box.
The clap box.
Clap, I know, it sounds ugly for us, but it's like a government, they get government cheese and harina, which they make their arepas and different things like that, oil and just different, cans of tuna and whatever it is. And then every month, a person goes and gets that. But again, if you don't do what the government tells you to do, you are ineligible to get your box. So a lot of the poorer the people are in Venezuela, the more they support the actual Maduro government, because if they don't do it, then they don't get their little box or whatever it is. And that's the sad thing that
and
I
that's
see
in
here.
2024 they're doing it.
That's in 2024. And verify it, look at it, and verify if what I'm telling you is not the truth, but it's there.
I put this visual up because he keeps speaking so down to earth, even though I was trying to get in these hypotheticals. I'm so glad he's here because we do need to be down to earth. This visual shows. Now imagine that opportunity cost list right there that we have on the screen. A single mother in Venezuela with her few children. A single mother in the United States with a few children. This is what matters. This is what keeps society. If we can fix this, and that's what you're speaking to, the importance of understanding from the smallest, most seeming insignificant citizens to the most well-known and oligarchical powerful citizens.
I just believe not only in helping a person, but helping them help themselves and get out of that situation. Not just if you just hand them, and just feed them and just give them stuff. Yeah, you feed them, but you never break that cycle. And that's the situation that's happening here with homelessness and different things like that. That's happening here that I think is really, really, really unfair.
Yeah.
And later we're going to get into that and talk a little bit about that, of what's happening. And
I had something I want to share with everybody. It's a video. I'm going to share this video with you guys. It's about the election. I'm going to have to hand you these once it starts. I want you to be able to hear it. Okay, everybody, we're going to share this election. So if you even was going to comment or call in, I'm about to share this video first.
But between 1946 and 2000, America is documented to have interfered with, tampered with, malignly influenced or outright rigged at least 88 elections from Europe to Latin America to Asia to Africa. So again, if you think that they'll do this everywhere else.
I'm going to start that over, everybody. I'm going to share this election, so if you even was going to comment or call in. Okay. I'm about to share this video first.
But between 1946 and 2000, America is documented to have interfered with, tampered with, malignly influenced or outright rigged at least 88 elections from Europe to Latin America to Asia to Africa. So again, if you think that they'll do this everywhere else. But between 1946 and 2000, America is documented to have interfered with, tampered with, malignly influenced, or outright rigged at least 88 elections from Europe to Latin America to Asia to Africa. So again, if you think that they'll do this everywhere else, but your so-called democracy is pristine, I would have to ask you why you think so. Why would it be more important to the power structure to control the outcome of an election in, say, Guyana, than it would be for them to control the outcome of an election in the United States of America? Because yes, Guyana is one of the countries where America rigged elections in the past. I'm telling you, I don't care who you vote for, because power doesn't care who you vote for, because the outcome is not determined by you. You know, Biden stepped aside because his pre-programmed victory could never be convincing. But look, Biden himself, the fact of Biden, a man who is literally in late-stage senility, a man who is visibly disintegrating before our eyes, the very fact that he was not only president, but was absolutely going to be run for another term, despite being a cadaver on strings, that should let you know that power does not reside in that office. Politicians serve two functions. The first is to distract you with the performance of democratic government, and the second is to be effigies that can be burned to satisfy public anger when the policies dictated by the private sector impose misery on the population. So when an American asks me who...
Very interesting, and I think it's definitely very true what he's saying. I didn't get the whole thing, but definitely interesting, and I always thought that the elections were really, you know, the true elections in here, and I truly feel that 2020 was very, I guess, I don't know if I want to use the word interesting, but I definitely think there was a lot of interference in it, you know, and starting from that laptop, that 51, you know,
oh yeah,
different intelligence people. Oh no, it's Russian information, and then it turned out that it was true. So it was there, but they hid that. You see, Zuckerberg even talked about you know, that the FBI and stuff, they told him to go, you know, to withhold information. I think all that stuff, that's election interference.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember I go back to the Reagan days. I didn't vote for Reagan because I was a little kid. But I remember when Reagan ran, they wouldn't run his movies or anything because they wanted to be fair to everybody. Then after he was elected, then they put his movies on, but they were giving everybody equal time. And now here, they're picking and choosing, and they're controlling what you're seeing and stuff like that. And that's why you got to be very careful of what you listen to, because they're controlling and they're trying to put a narrative into your mind that is not necessarily the truth. And that's why we have to be careful on what you listen to.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I would like to say, how much should we invest into the elections if we know I feel voting does matter. I feel voting is what decides who's going to be the president. It's just, I feel like there's so much to modern day elections and voting, and how it's done is so above a person's head that we become cynical at the process and cynical about if we actually have a legit influence. Like, there's some people that just think that voting is irrelevant, it's fake, they choose who they want. Now, it's pretty clear, I obviously believe it's an oligarch. I don't believe that we're living in a legitimate, totally democratic system, but I believe to a point, even an oligarchy can have a democratic system. I believe to a point we do have democracy, and I think people should vote, and I think it does influence who becomes whoever your vote, whatever election it is, whether it's gubernatorial or whether it's presidential.
I agree, and the important thing I want you to think about, if you look at what Kamala, I guess, has been nominated or whatever, I don't know, less than 2 months or something, so very little time, and she has raised $500 million. What is that $500 million for?
And it was crazy. It was crazy, like overnight. It just dropped out of midair.
And I'm not saying that Trump hasn't raised a lot of money, because he has, and I've actually donated a lot of money too. So So I'm there. But $500 million, what are they doing? They're buying ad space and things like that, and that's what they're spending.
It costs. It
costs, but $500 million to convince you and to tell you what to go ahead and do, and that's what I'm saying.
I also think that they're greasing. I think they're greasing like super delegates' pocketbooks.
cap. Probably, definitely. It's just, I don't know what the solution to that is, and you limit it, and hey, this is what your budget is, or what I don't know. I don't know what it is, but and again, it doesn't mean that because you have the most money that you're going to win. Because if you look at Hillary Clinton, she fundraised Trump, I think, 3 times to whatever he did, and she still lost. So it doesn't mean you're going to go ahead and win, but it's just kind of sad. Again, the hundreds of millions of dollars that are just wasted on advertising for the election, where again it could be used to resolve lots of issues and lots of problems here.
Right. So what did you know that they took a vote on whether the United States would enter the First World War, and the people of the United States decided not to? And so the United States stayed out of the First World War for a period of time, and then because of a specific attack, the United States had to finally enter the First World War. But before that, our nation, from New York to Hawaii, they used to vote to decide whether they were going to go to war.
Well, I'll go back to the same thing with the Second World War. I always thought it was very ironic, and the Pearl Harbor and this and that, and of course, the United States did not want to get involved in the war, and then all of a sudden, Japan bombs Pearl Harbor. I'm not a conspiracy theorist person generally, and I don't really get into conspiracy theories, but I'll tell you one interesting thing. That day, December 4th, 1941, or I think it was December 4th, 1941, every single one of the American aircraft carriers were out at sea. Now, when does an aircraft carrier leave unguarded outside and leave the battleships and everything behind? Never.
Oh, that's a real good point.
Exactly. Wow. If the battleships are out, if the aircraft carriers are out, they're protected by the battleships. So why was it a coincidence? Because if they lose the aircraft carriers, then they're not going to fight no war. They can't do it. So they had to protect the aircraft carriers. And I just think it's very strange that the aircraft carriers would be out, but the battleships were there. It never made sense to me. So I believe they knew that was going to happen. Say, hey, let's pull out the aircraft carriers because we can't survive without the aircraft carriers.
Right.
Let's let them kill the soldiers. Let's let them do this so we can get into the war. And all of a sudden, when that happened, then now you have to get involved in it.
It's interesting that you're saying it because we're looking at a situation that's very sensitive in the Taiwan Straits and the Chinese Sea. We're looking at another situation over in Ukraine and Russia.
Russia just bombed Poland and this and that. And guess what? Now we have to.
Now we got to go to war.
Screw those damn Russia. Now we got to go to war, and then you get all the people behind it again. And that's what I'm saying is, we have to figure out how to stop it, how to solve it.
Well, we also have to look at the point that the United States just brought back the. That they have to, what is it called when they call for the young people, the draft. They just brought back the draft, and I think a lot of you that are tuned in need to know what the draft is and understand what that implies. That's saying that all older sons and daughters have to join the military for active duty because of threats of protracted military conflict. So protracted conflict means there's bombings and bullets flying. So basically, the United States is prepping us for fucking war. But who is ready? Because we really want to know that Puff Daddy and have our minds on P. Diddy getting arrested. Or maybe we want to talk about these little ongoing issues that keep popping up in society. Maybe we want to keep celebrating these secular holidays and act like we don't have any of our own personal cultural beliefs. But meanwhile, we're putting our finances and we're paying with our attention. We're paying with our finances, we're paying with our attention. We're paying with our finances and we're paying with our attention. But who's prepping? I'll tell you who's prepping. The same people that us, and when I say us, I mean not just everyday Americans, but specifically for me, being part of the Black American community, the foundational Black Americans, whatever you want to call us, ADOS or call us African American, we don't have preppers. Like, it's actually the nationalists, the white nationalists, the Christian nationalists that are prepping. What are they prepping for? Possible mass earthquakes, possible sundown not sundown town, but what I call sundowners. The sun having a flare that put the biggest EMP on Earth in history. So these people are also preparing for the second Civil War, and they're preparing for possible invasion. They're preparing for possible pandemics. But there's specific majority of circular America who call them people extreme, and in certain reasons should, because yes, it's a lot of racism, I get it. But at the same time, they're outclassing you like two boxers. One boxer might, like how Cesar Chavez was outclassed by Pernell Whitaker. Pernell Whitaker outclassed him. But yet at the end, because of politics and money, Pernell Whitaker, they lied and said it was a draw. Cesar Chavez couldn't land a punch on Pernell Whitaker. He got outclassed. But they called it a draw. And so it's going to come out to be that these people in these groups are going to be the ones standing to reestablish order over the lands, because we were caught up in circular society, enjoying the everyday circular society things. But these specific groups that we might say they're extremists, they're going to be the ones we're going to have to, those of us that survive are going to have to bow down to or run and hide from, because they're going to be reestablishing order. But that's another talk. And don't quote me, boy, because I ain't said shit.
All right.
I know. I went too far. It is what it is. Nah, break him off that he keeps bringing us back to earth. He keeps bringing us back down to reality. I come sometime, go a little far. I know.
I don't want to get into the Civil War talk and stuff like that, because I think that we need to be able to solve that and not go there, because I don't think there is a winner to a Civil War, and I don't care which side you're on. I don't care if you're this side or that side, and Republicans got more guns, and you know what, Democrats got guns too.
Absolutely.
You know, and
absolutely.
And that situation you're going to have there, you're not going to have food, you're going to have this, you're going to be hiding, there's going to be lots of deaths and stuff like that. And this is this is about avoiding the deaths and avoiding that, and that's why I don't even want to have that conversation, because I don't think it's a win for nobody. Nobody wins in a civil war. The United States goes into a civil war, and then guess what? We are no longer the superpower of the world, because there's going to be, from Russia to China to Iran, they're going to go ahead and take over that position of the superpower. So I would just say don't go there. And if the civil war is because of party A wins or party B wins or whoever it is, so what? Suck it up. It's 4 years. At the end, the United States is not going to end at 4 years, and then come back and get a better candidate and have your candidate run. You can go and fix things. That's the way I look at it. But just do not pick the candidate, and I might piss off some people, but don't pick the candidate because of DEI or because of what they are or not they are, or what color they are, or this or that. I just want the candidate who's the best person. And
that best person, exactly right.
The best person,
agenda.
The best person may be black, maybe a woman, maybe this, that, whatever it is, but as long as they're the best person because of their policies, because of their ideas and what they want to do for the country, then so be it. I just don't think it should be based on something exterior. Oh, I want to pick this person because I hate that person. Okay. It just makes no sense to me. So that's why I say I don't really want to get into that Civil War thing, because I don't think that nobody's a winner for that. And it's, again, Civil War probably lasts more than 4 years, and if you just sucked it up and you'd get a new candidate in 4 years, and you can do whatever you want to.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. I don't see that that's the reality. Civil War is not the reality. I think the reality is
I'm not saying it can't happen. So you're right. Maybe I'm just naive for saying that, but I just don't think there's an actual winner in that, and I'm hoping that that's not the situation that we get into, because there's a lot of people that say, "Hey, I'm ready for it."
They think they are.
They think they are, correct, and it's just like, and like I said,
all you have to do is ask them to put their hands in the air. They're gonna run. If they run for a gun, they ain't ready. If they ain't willing to put these in the air, if they're not willing to get, trust me.
Yeah, but
men that's gonna run for the guns, they're gonna end up killing each other.
Yeah,
they're gonna end up killing each other. They're not smart enough to realize it yet.
There's no need for that, and hopefully we're smarter than that, and
exactly.
We may not be, but
that's why we need the financial system to continue to get better. We need the financial system.
But it goes back to the same thing. We have to protect ourselves, protect our homes, and
protect our law and order.
I'm a big advocate of helping other people, but you need to help and take care of your house first. Once your things are in order, You know, why do people want to come to the United States? Because we got a great system.
Right.
If we tear apart that system, because right now it's an absolute mess. The system is an absolute mess. And yet, like I said, the media is telling you how wonderful and how great things. And, you know, we had talked about, you know, the way the prices are and the economy and all kinds of stuff. And they keep telling you how wonderful it is. And yet, earlier we were talking about all these stores and stuff going out of business and things shutting down and restaurants and crime in different areas. And, you know, we're not in a good place. We're really not.
Right. And I wanted to mention that there's go-to sources for you to understand the depths of what could possibly be coming. Now, we had mentioned we wanted to talk about the possible compromise points that the Senate and Congress need to compromise with one another, aside the political adversarialness, turn down that temperature, and be able to come to some compromises. I, for one, came up with, I think the compromise that will help our economy best right now would be if we can come to a compromise and stick with that compromise with the immigration and border. Those are two things. But the immigration and border, because I feel like so much distraction, paying with our attention and paying with our finance, paying with our attention and paying with our finances. I feel like if we could if the Senate, after this new president, whether it's Harris or whether it's Trump, it doesn't matter. That's what we're proposing. And I'm asking you, anyone listening, what areas do you want to see the Senate and Congress, rather put aside the binary political polarization, and just come to some compromising and write up some bills and get some stuff done in order on that specific area? What do you feel will help the United States of America, the economy, and the people? What specific issue do you feel the adversarial, it's not even opposition anymore, it's like so adversarial in the Senate and Congress, so on Capitol Hill is extremely adversarial. So what do you think they need to compromise on? What issue do you feel? I feel the immigration laws and the border issues, if they can come to a good compromise, I feel that would change our nation going forward once there's a new president in there. What area besides those that I mentioned do you feel would be a good area of compromise?
And you're basing this on immigration?
I feel personally, no. I'm saying the compromise is the main point of the subject. For those that are in Congress and in the Senate, what issues do you feel you would like to see them put aside their adversarial politics and come to some agreement and implement some administrative agendas, because they come to some agreements, they push through the bills, and now the administrative state could get to work? What do you feel is an issue that you would like to see them compromise on and get that?
Okay, the issue and the problem with the compromise, and I think one of the biggest things.
I don't want to go there yet, because I know I don't want to. If you don't have a specific issue that you feel they would compromise on, I would rather us mention a couple of issues, then we can go into what's stopping them from compromising. But right now, I want to focus on throwing some issues out there.
They're not going to compromise. They're not going to come to any agreement.
So you don't want to mention an issue that you would like to see them compromise? I will go into issue
because we started talking about the immigration, and we can talk about that.
But I mentioned that already. Do you know something else that you would like to see them compromise on?
Well, I think there's a lot of things we have to do on immigration, because we already have immigration.
Well, I'll say this. I would also like to see them. I didn't want to monopolize, but I also would like to see them compromise on how much support we're giving countries as Israel and Ukraine. I feel like they need to come to a new policy on that. We're giving too much of our revenue, our attention, and our finance, our economy to them. And like you said, we're having problems at home. So
Well,
I think
I mean,
that
I'll tell you that much there. We're spending, I don't know, 180 billion dollars on Ukraine, yet we can't spend money, and that's that amount of money to secure Ukraine's border, but yet they won't spend, a fraction of that cost to either secure our border or fix our homelessness, because we have a big homelessness problem.
Yeah.
And I think the way that a lot in the government are handling homelessness right now is just really sad, and it's the wrong thing, and I don't think it helps homelessness. I think it encourages homelessness.
Wow.
And you want to get into that topic a little bit, we can talk about that.
Oh yeah, let's do it. That's a deep subject.
And I mean, I'm going to talk about homelessness in general, okay? Because I understand it's a problem. It's something that needs to be resolved, and I think it's a good thing to help underprivileged people. But yet, I was my father started his company on 4th and Wall in downtown LA, and 5th and Wall was basically the Midnight Mission and in Skid Row. And I mean, I hung around all these homeless guys, and they all knew me because I was a little boy since I was there, and I grew up in the area, and I was very familiar with the way the system worked.
Okay.
And the system originally, before, the homeless guys in the morning, I remember LAPD would come by, I think it was 7 a.m. and wake everybody up. You couldn't be sleeping on the street during the day, so everybody would get up. Then around 5, 6 o'clock, everybody would be looking around for cardboard boxes, whatever, and then build their little houses and go to sleep at night. Now, the difference, because of all these lawsuits and stuff, these guys all have tents. And not only tents, they got barbecues out there. Some guys got generators, and they got all this bunch of stuff, which is fine. I understand. Oh, they got their rights, and they got that. Well, how about the rights of the business owner that's sitting there, and he's got this homeless encampment right in front of their business? You got businesses in downtown LA that are building big giant planters and stuff out on the sidewalk just to be able to keep the homelessness out. Now, I went to renew my passport, and if you know, the federal building is in Westwood, which is a very, very expensive area. And I went and I pulled into the parking lot of the federal building, and all along that street, I don't know the name of the street, but you can look it up. There's a big park across the street, and there's multi-million-dollar homes. And then I look over at the park, and there's 200-300 homeless people living in tents in this park. And I understand, but yet you spend anywhere from $3 to $5 million for a home, and you got homeless people living across your street. I mean, it's like, I understand the rights of the homeless people, but how about the rights of the people who actually bought a house and are there? So I don't know how to solve it, and I think some of that money needs to be spent to actually help the people, but not encourage it. Okay. Now, one interesting thing that just happened this last couple of months, and I don't know if you saw it, but it's downtown LA. I think they call it the Weingart Center. They just built brand new condos there in downtown LA, right in Skid Row, and each of these condos were $600,000 a condo. So you got homeless people getting condos for $600,000. Now, you can go ahead and say, where did this money come from? You paid it. You guys all paid
Revenue.
this. Because if you guys remember, I think it was about 6 years ago, there was Measure H, and the Measure H, over the 10 years, they're set to raise $3.75 billion of money for the homeless, and then there's county measure HHH, which is another $3.5 billion. That's the sales tax that went up 0.5%. Well, so we're paying for that. Now, my question to you is: so total
and this is Los Angeles
County, yes.
Yes.
So that's $7.5 billion with a B
per year.
Well, it's over the 10-year period is what they raised, because it was a 10-year bond, and I think we're 6 years into it. But this entire building was built, and again, you get a homeless person, and you get them a $600,000 condo for free, basically. That doesn't help them. They're just going to encourage, because, man, I want one of those. Where can I sign up and where can I get one of those?
Absolutely.
I'll get it. I mean, these places here, they've got a gym, they've got meditation areas, they've got a big old music room.
So have you heard of universal income? The universal income debate? So I'm trying to avoid the socialist word, but so people need to understand, no matter what civilization throughout the planet on Earth, people had to work. People had to get out and hustle.
Yeah,
people had to be productive in their personal lives, their family lives, and into the society. And so I think a good thing that he's mentioning is he's pointing out it's good ideas, good idealism, just like universal income is, just like socialism is, but in practice, it's an issue. The issue is the greatness of capitalism. It's just like looking at Michael Jordan. There would have not been a Kobe Bryant if there was not a Michael Jordan. If there would not have been Moses Malone and all those before Michael Jordan, there wouldn't have been a Michael Jordan. So the great thing about capitalism is it influences and instigate competition, which forces people to be innovative, creative, and pushing themselves, opportunist, and it makes things continually to change and evolve. But the dangers is greed, obviously. So the same with the socialism thing is people can get caught up in a sense of entitlement where we just get this, we just have this. There's nothing to be done to get it. Then you wonder why you're the victim class. Even if you had to fucking take up arms to defend yourself. But you don't want to because there's already a path right there to getting the food that doesn't require you to join unity. And then what happens is you end up hating each other and taking all the problems out on each other. This shit sound familiar, y'all? So it was a plan because it already had been implemented on other people. So this is why you hear people, although they grew up in poverty like me, had a very hard life, but of course I naturally gravitated toward socialism. The education didn't take me away from socialism. It helped me be more of a socialist. But what made me realize was just being a competitive person, and as a young adult, unlike the others around me, I did things that others didn't. And some of those others were jealous. And I started realizing, why am I doing this? It's because I naturally want more out of life. Not than them, but just in that it's not that. But then when I got around people that weren't raised in poverty, it was natural for them to do the things I was doing. I just seemed like I was doing something spectacular around them people. And what it made me realize is they had got caught up in the systematic plan to get them caught up in a mentality that was kind of like the crab in the barrel, which was further instigated with the mentality of warfare, the handout type of thing. That breeds jealousy amongst each other and stuff. And so that's where I got to see the value of capitalism and the type of economy we live in and the type of opportunities that the United States offers. You see what I'm saying? To add to what you're saying, because you are staying grounded and you're speaking to an issue that people need to realize that's not only in LA what he was speaking to, but it's throughout the country, that they're trying different methods to solve age-old problems. Like the hobo thing after slavery ended. It was a lot of hobos. They were majority white. A lot of people don't know that. You would think that the blacks that got out of slavery would ended up the hobos. It wasn't. Because they were just slave hands that they were their welfare cases. The Irish Americans and the different white Americans that were used to being nothing but hands for generations around the slave plantations. You get it? They didn't need no education. They didn't have to do what the oligarchs of the South had to do. They didn't have to get an education and be part of the statesman class. An investment. And so we're looking at a situation, we got these people flooding the country illegally. They're not interested, these people doing that are kind of like, a lot of them are welfare case people. Then you got the people coming out of the ghettos or that's living in the ghettos in America that are welfare cases. We got to get past that, is what he's saying. And it's not going to happen with these initiatives that, sorry, the Democrats are the ones doing it. We're going to hand out this super great life to just a few of these homeless people with these apartment buildings we built. That's a crock of shit. You need to have some kind of initiative that's going to get all these people in these different programs to self-develop themselves. Give them some culture capital opportunities that are real. Some skills, some workforce skills, talents, training. Not big flush apartments where their fellow homeless peers see them got lucky. They're one of them that got in the apartments. That's stupid. So I just wanted to add to the importance of what you were speaking of, man. That's very important what you're speaking of. I just couldn't believe it when you first told me about that. I couldn't believe it. Like, why the fuck would they do that? Why? Like, why would they give big ass luxury apartments to people that are homeless, just a few homeless, while the other people are still out there homeless? It sounds like some kind of fucking publicity stunt. It don't sound like an effort at actually resolving the matter. I didn't mean to take over, man. I just thought it's a touchy matter because I've been homeless multiple times in my life, and you know, God has been good to me. I haven't had to really worry about it. Even then, it really wasn't bad. But I know that's the most retarded shit I ever heard in the world, for them to do that downtown LA of all places. It's clearly not a solution at all. And it's really stupid. You can get some of them homeless people killed by the other homeless people. You're going to make them jealous of them. You're giving them this big plush apartment, you know? I think there's different ways of doing things. I just thought that was ridiculous. I remember you told me about that. Kind of touched my heart when you brought that up. Because at the same time, we have the immigration. The illegal immigration floods. It's a lot. It's a lot. But we have to get past it, and we will. We will. As Americans, as human beings, we're going to have to get past it. But I'm glad you also mentioned, very important what you mentioned is, when I bring up this possibility of war in America or World War III in this world, I don't mean to be doomsday. And he's absolutely right. We should not entertain that much. We should not entertain that much. And he's right. We should not want, because that's sometimes some sparks. The fire will never be put out till it's too late.
All right. So as I was saying, I just think this situation with the homeless, and I understand there's a lot of issues. I just think that when you give a $600,000 unit for somebody, that encourages more homelessness, because I would love to be able to have a $600,000 unit. I'm sure you would love to have a $600,000 unit, you know, some brand new building in a high-rise building with all this bunch of beautiful things. So I think it incentivizes being homeless. It doesn't, because how are you going to go ahead and get out of that into a regular house? You're not, because you're going to be dependent on the government. And that's what I see. They want to make us all more and more dependent on the actual government, where I think if they did it a little bit differently, because the funds are there. One other little quick note, that Maxine Waters is trying to pass now 2 different measures that she's doing it for, I think, 5 different cities, where they're trying to raise $150 billion for the homeless. $150 billion. So the money is out there, but I think when you just hand it and there's nothing to, you just get it because you're homeless. I believe in, and again, I have not been homeless, but I think in order to help somebody to get out of the homelessness, there has to be a plan. Now, some of these homeless people, we're not even talking about the immigrants right now. You might have people either up on, mental illness. It could be drugs. It could be a lot of different things. And a lot of it might just be simply because of the amount. You have 12 million people on, of immigration who've come to this country. Well, what has that done to the cost of, please. To the cost of real estate. I mean, real estate has been insane. Rental prices are insane. There's a lot of people that are homeless because they simply can't afford it. But yet, I think if they did, instead of doing a $600,000 condo, I think it would be something that they would have to work into it. They would either have to, be in a treatment program, to get out of it, and there has to be some kind of a exit strategy, not just you're handed a condo and that's it, because that's not fair to everybody else. And I would probably say that it shouldn't be a $600,000 individual condo. It should be something that's going to be humane, that's, has air conditioning, has, heating, got a bathroom and everything. But I would say something that's better than being the street. But maybe it's, like a big warehouse, and there might be, 100 beds, 200 beds, whatever in there. So like I say, just so it's a humane place, but it's somewhere as a stepping stone to be able to get to the next level. And in that place, might have counselors, whatever, helping people either do job training, rehabilitation, and things like that to be able to break the cycle. Because there's so many people that get handed stuff for free from the government, they never want to get out of there because it's nice getting free shit. But I think it should be set with a end result. Now, that end result might be, you can't get a job, whatever. Well, you know what? Do something for the city. Do something. We have all these fires. Do I don't know, call it the weed control or whatever for the fires or whatever it is. Give something back to society. Go for a training, learn computer programming, learn different things that are going to make you more self-sufficient, and that's what I go ahead and believe, that we need to help these people to be able to help themselves. If we just hand them stuff out, then it just makes the situation worse and worse and worse and worse. And the sad thing is, who's paying for all this stuff? It's you guys. Oh yeah, let's go. half a cent sales tax, this, that, and it's billions and billions and that's just LA County. All these other counties and all these propositions and stuff that they pass is just, it's insane the amounts of money. And I also believe, unfortunately, maybe it's just because I'm being cynical, but I believe a lot of these politicians are giving these construction projects to their buddies.
Ooh, that's fire. That's fire what you just said.
Because, I've looked at all these, different construction projects and they cost millions of dollars when it really shouldn't cost that. But they're giving out these contracts to their buddies, and then their buddies are coming back and, maybe giving them money under the table, or they are donating to their political campaign and different things like that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think there's a lot of waste that's going on with the homelessness and all this bunch of stuff. And it's billions of dollars. And that's a sad thing. And again, we have a homeless problem. I think in LA County, there's like 100,000 homeless people right now. And years ago, the homelessness was Skid Row, downtown LA, and that's it. Now, I don't care what city you go to. You saw, like I was talking about Brentwood or Center City, whatever it was there by the Federal Building in Westwood. So you go, I was up in Corona, homeless everywhere. You go every single place that you go. As a matter of fact, I just got off the freeway here.
Do you think the oligarchs could be kind of partially behind this?
I think it's a lot of things.
Because the political class obviously are not the oligarchs.
Well, I just think
on
the basic homeless level, I think there's a lot of reasons. And again, some of it might be drug use, others might be, and I know it's a fact. There's cities that there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of RVs. They're broken down RVs. They're living there. Why? Because they can't afford what the rent is like. The rent is just astronomically expensive. It's crazy. And by having 12 million new illegal aliens, and I'm going to call them illegal aliens because that's what they are to me. You get mad at me, whatever it is, but we have laws. They violated the law. They're illegal. So get mad if you want. You can call them newcomers, whatever the hell you want to. I'm going to call them what they are.
They are.
So you get 12 million new people that are going to come here. What do you think that does to housing prices? You think that fixes things? No, it doesn't. It makes it worse, and it makes all this homelessness and all this stuff just even worse because the American citizen can't now afford to go ahead and pay it.
Know what I call
You're a young kid. You're a young kid right now. You're in college, you graduated high school or whatever. You want to buy some real estate, you want to buy something, you can't. It's impossible. The American dream is dead. The only way they can do it, they have to get 2-3 people together, friends together, and to buy something. Then maybe you can go ahead and do it. But right now, I think the average to buy a house here in Southern California, the cheapest house possible, you need to make about $150,000 a year just to be able to qualify for nothing, for a little nothing.
I know this is true. Yeah, I know it.
Yet,
I know it personally.
4 years ago, I think it was something like 78 or 80,000.
Right.
Now interest rates have tripled what they were.
Absolutely.
Home prices have basically doubled in the last 4 years, and then not only that. Food prices are higher, gas prices are higher, every single thing.
And none of this that the statesman gentleman is speaking is conspiracy theory. This isn't possibility. Everything he's speaking is completely down-to-earth, grassroots, financial system reality.
Absolute
it's nothing
reality
to be,
and what's
there's
happened.
no debate. All he's talking about is facts. He's talking demographics. There's no argument. He's speaking the total truth of the reality. And he even got into the specific state we live in. We're in California. You understand? So,
but I think it's probably no different in any other state, because you look at New York, you look at any other states, and they're having the same issues again, because it's like I say, we're not a border state anymore.
Right.
It's a border country. This problem
it's
is
a border country.
They spread it out in the middle of the night, and they move buses and people and all over the place. So now it's different places before, and it's funny because the mayor of New York, a few years ago, oh, we're a sanctuary city. Oh, yes, come, everybody's well. And then all of a sudden, when they actually started coming, Martha's Vineyard. Oh, yeah, all the rich people over there. And all of a sudden, I think it was your buddy DeSantis, sorry. But he flew a group of 20 migrants. Oh, they freaked out. Oh, no, we don't have space. What do you mean they don't have space? They got 15, 20,000 square foot homes, these multi-million-dollar mansions, but yet, no, it's good when they go to somewhere else, but no, not in our neighborhood. That wasn't good for them.
Exactly.
But that's why I'm saying I'm going to encourage all of you guys who like the open borders and stuff. You know what? Walk the walk and talk the talk.
You do know a lot of people think that shit is cool. They want it
if
that
it's cool,
way.
great. Then
I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that think. I think that's one of the worst things going on in our country. And I don't just say the south border. I also say the north border, and I also say, especially coming from, like it or not, coming from the Caribbean, there's a lot of cocaine coming from the south border and coming on those boats into Florida, New York, coming into Jersey, and there's a lot of bomb equipment coming through the south border.
Yeah.
There's a lot of terrorists that could take advantage of the borders, whether they're the water borders on the East Coast.
The problem is
or
we
the
don't
south
know.
border. We don't know, or the north border.
We should have a control, and we should know what's going to happen. We don't know that. We don't know how many people are in this country with it, and we've already talked about all the gang members and all the bunch of stuff there, and it's just there was a big controversy that Trump got in trouble. Okay, because some of you guys, if you're familiar with El Salvador, El Salvador's president that was elected in 2019 did an amazing thing. Okay, El Salvador was the murder capital of the world. More murders in El Salvador.
I remember that.
Than than Afghanistan, Iraq, anywhere. They were the murder capital of the world. The MS-13 is guys with tattoos on their face and everything like that. It was a horrific place. I had one of my guys that works for me had a girlfriend that was from down there. They went to visit the family, and he came back crying. He was there for 2 weeks. He says he saw a bunch of murders and a bunch of stuff. He said, I'm never going back there. Now, Nayib Bukele, super sharp man, cleaned up the entire country. He built the largest prison in Central America. And I think, and look up Nayib Bukele, or just look at El Salvador, and it's amazing. All these guys, they're in this prison. They don't get out. They're basically a life sentence in there. And he cleaned up the entire country. And then now, I don't have the numbers here, but I know something like astronomical numbers. And then now, the whole last entire year, there was like very few murders at all. It was like one of the least murders. A lot less murders, I'll tell you, than Chicago or LA or anywhere like that. Because it was just amazing numbers. So the reason that Trump got into trouble is when Trump says, oh, well, the gang members and stuff from El Salvador are coming over here and they're coming to the United States. And a lot of people got mad because Nayib Bukele did such a good job. But the problem that people don't realize is these gang members, anybody who had tattoos, you had tattoos, they were picking you up and throwing you in prison. I believe there's probably a lot of innocent young guys that are in there, they're in prison, and they just had tattoos. They got picked up, they got thrown in there, and that sucks. That's a sad thing. But he cleaned up the country. He did a good job. So what happens is, any of these guys that are gang members that didn't get caught, what did they do? They ran off. They went to Mexico. They've joined either the cartel in Mexico, or they've continued on, and they're in the United States. So just because he has the largest prison in El Salvador doesn't mean these guys didn't come, because you don't catch 100% of them. The other motherfuckers, ran away, and they ran away into, Honduras and whatever, and they're all making themselves up into the United States. So they're still here anyways. So Nayib Bukele did an amazing job. He's an amazing man. He speaks perfect English.
And that country is Nicaragua?
No, it's El Salvador.
El Salvador. It's crazy that you're bringing up that, because one of my music artists I worked with back in the early 2000s was from Ecuador. And one of the artists he worked with was from El Salvador. Yeah. And I would do, because I sing a certain style. I sing a certain style. And so I used to work with them, and they used to bring all this shit up. Now you gotta think about that. This is 20 years ago, or over 20 years ago. So I'd be sitting there smoking weed. I'm off tour, because at the time I was with Caracabella. Yeah. The song I just dropped, I'm gonna play it for everybody, some of it. It is a soca hip hop song, the song I just dropped. Back then, the reason why they wanted to sign me, because I was doing soca hip hop songs and dance hall / hip hop songs. But it was crazy, because when I lived in Jamaica, it was during an election year. In Jamaica during election years, they're doing drive-bys on each other. Wow. One street. It's like if you're in Tanzapin in Spanish Town, there's a whole nother street on the other side of Spanish Town. They're doing drive-bys on each other because one of them historically represents a certain party. Yeah. And the other one represents the other. And I'm going to tell you something. I've lived in multiple developing countries, previously known as third world countries. Now I don't know the term, but one thing I realized, all or any of them that only have two major parties, there's a lot of killings. Yeah. But the ones that have like 11 political parties, 10, 11 political parties, there's less political violence. How did the United States manage to avoid the political violence that we see during election times globally? How did our polity, not policy, how did our polity do it? Was it purposeful? I'm wondering if it had to have been purposeful. I'm not saying that the original founders thought about that, but I know this isn't a big deal to everybody, but when you lived in these countries and you saw this political violence, especially in times of elections, you reflect and you realize, hold on, goddamn, we didn't have much political violence. Even when I was in Davos in Geneva, they were fist fighting each other in the fucking parliament. Simultaneously in Britain, they were fist fighting each other, doing drive-bys on each other in Europe, West Europe. In Russia, people are coming up missing. In China, entire areas have entire sections of people coming up dead and missing.
Well,
you know what I mean?
My mother, again, was from Cuba, and she always told us a story. They didn't have those problems over there because if you weren't for Castro, guess what? You disappeared, you went to jail, you went to this, or your neighbor would report your ass and you were gone.
It's awful.
So it was just kind of very easy. It kind of made him, made him win, and it's story after story, country after country. And Venezuela just went through the same thing. They just had an election last month, the same thing. And their opposition leader that was running for it was Machado, was a female. She was running for it, and all of a sudden, they arrested her and they put her in jail for some felony that she did or something down there, and oh my God, it's just like Trump. What a coincidence! The same exact thing they're trying to do here, and that's why I think it's embarrassing that we're doing the same thing that a lot of these banana republics and stuff are doing right now, and that's a sad thing. It should be basically, you vote for whoever you want to, and great. You support this person, be proud of it.
I was there in Jamaica and in South Africa before the election year started. So I watched it phase into the election year, and everybody was warning me, it's about to be crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? As soon as January fucking hit in both of those countries, bah, 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 at night.
I was in Taiwan.
I was like, damn, that's crazy.
I was in Taiwan during an election period, and again, I don't know what the hell was going on because everything, was in a different language, and I couldn't understand what was going on and who was for who and whatever. But I was kind of scared. I was scared to go out in the streets because they had people, protesting and this and that, and I didn't know what group was what group, and it was a kind of a scary time. So you kind of reminded me of that when I was down there. But it was a little bit of a scary
I would have
time.
loved to have been in Taiwan. In 2006, I had a Taiwanese flatmate in a matric that I lived in, or let me speak the American terms for it. I had an apartment mate on university apartments, and he was from Taiwan. He could speak English good, and you know how Taiwanese and Asians are really trendy when they dress and stuff. And he used to sit down and talk to me because our other roommate was a Chinese, and he was teaching me Chinese checker. And everything was good with them, but whenever they got around me, they would start competing about me. You know what I'm talking about my their friendship. They wanted my attention. And he ended up telling me everything about what was going on. You see, that's the importance of getting an education. You're not just going to learn in classes. It's important, I think, you guys, to get your youth, your kids, and everything to live on campus, and encourage them to make friends with people from other countries, from other ethnicities and different looks, different place, different languages, because you'll be surprised what they'll learn. I just didn't know what was going on between Taiwan and China, but it was pretty scary to find out the history. It sounds scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's interesting. It's very interesting. I can't really go there right now, but I'm really wondering about the future with this United States and my specific group of people. It's like it's funny how one thing that's big in the United States in Western civilization is identity switching. The United States in Western civilization wants you to practice identity switching. I haven't been able to do it. I am who I am. I was born and raised what I am from the specific group of people I'm from. It's just like I'm loyal. I don't know what it is. It's just my ego doesn't dominate me. My soul consciousness does. But I think that's something I should do a talk about.
Yeah.
But where were you going to go?
You were talking about education and stuff, and
Yeah,
here,
it's
and I
very
was
important.
Googling here on the U.S. education, because I think the interesting thing is, and I wasn't able to get the numbers, but I looked here up on Google, and it says that the U.S. spends more money in education than any other country in the world, yet our rating on the students, I think we're like at the bottom. So we spend more money than anybody, but the intelligence of the kids that are coming out of the schools is like not very good.
Yeah, but from a personal perspective, being a debater and being a debate teacher, being a student that got a degree in South Africa, political science, and studied international humanitarian law, that study, the education system is no longer based on just the paper quantification. It's also based off of good common sense. And it's just like there's people being accepted into Duke and into Harvard, and they're writing out the worst entry thing. But it's the substance they're talking about. I'm coming from this struggle and this and this. So they want to help people like that. So I think the one value we have is that we know an American knows how to deal with people from all kind of backgrounds.
All right.
You know,
just a little quick note, and I think that's interesting. We're talking about TikTok. Okay, every kid, every student, they all love TikTok and they're doing little dances, they're doing stuff on TikTok. Yet TikTok in China, they're not allowed to have any. Everything is all about education on the TikTok in China. It's awful. A total different platform. That's now, again, I don't believe in banning TikTok like a lot of people want to do and stuff because I think it's free speech or whatever it is.
I'm with you on that.
But the difference is over there, they're focused on the education, different stuff. Where here, a lot of the American kids are focused on bullshit.
And you got to respect that, though. You got to respect that, but at the same time,
now
what seems to be bullshit is cultural expressions. It's artistic cultural expressions.
And where
some of it is
come from?
A lot of it is bullshit.
The people come.
I know that's true. I get it.
We got enough bullshit here. We don't need that much more bullshit because a lot of these kids, I'm sorry, their heads are up their ass. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go and say that.
Not only that, a lot of older people. There's a lot of people me and your age that are bullshitting.
I'm gonna talk about something that's interesting that Trump said about immigration. Okay, Trump was saying about immigration that all of these students that are here on student visas from different countries, he says that he proposes once these students graduate, they get their diploma and they get the residence, the U.S. citizenship, not the citizenship, but visa to go ahead and stay. And why does he say that? He says because
he's saying he's going to allow them to stay here
in all these universities in the United States, and then we're letting this talent leave and go back to China and start businesses in other countries.
Big mistake. You're right.
We're investing the money in these kids to come study here, and they're leaving to do anything. So that's what. But those are the quality people that are going to help the country.
The brain drain.
Exactly.
The brain drain.
I'm sorry, but not some of these people that are coming over. They're not the best.
They're not at all.
They have to be careful on what we're coming over.
Now, if the United States, if the world doesn't go into World War III.
Which that one is a good possibility.
I see a president being a Hispanic male coming sometime soon, and I see them being as a moderate or a conservative.
The problem with the Hispanic male, I'll tell you this much, is from the outside, you look at Hispanic as a Hispanic, but there's a lot of different animosity between the different Hispanics.
Okay.
And that's again why I like Marco Rubio. Because Marco Rubio happens to be Cuban. Well, my parents are Cuban, so I like Marco Rubio. Didn't he just
get convicted?
Marco Rubio? No, Marco Rubio is a senator in Florida.
Oh, okay. You're talking about Marco
He was
Rubio.
Running... no, that was Imelda Marcos from the Philippines or something else.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but he's a senator for Florida, and I loved him because, oh my God, because he's Cuban. But the problem is, the Mexicans don't like him because he's Cuban. And there's a lot of that. So it's not like it's a... Well, just because you put a Hispanic, it's not. There's too much of a division, and that's the biggest problem.
I'm glad you said that because I'm an actual alumni for the Hispanic Associations for Colleges and Universities. That's how I got my first gig in Washington, D.C. And
you get a Mexican, and I fuck with them all the time. I get somebody come over and I'll say, "Oh yeah, they told me that you're a Salvatrucha, that you're Salvadorian." Oh man, they get pissed. Oh, I said, no, he told me that you're Salvadorian. I don't know. I didn't. I just, and I just mess with him. No, I'm kidding, man. I'm kidding with him. But call a Mexican Salvadorian and see what he does to you.
Well, that's what makes me and you so great, and others, that we're beyond that. Because we know, black people have the same issues. Like we're the Black Americans. Now we have a term called foundational Black Americans. Some call us ADOs. I like the foundational Black American term because the ADOS is what is it? African descents of slavery. Like slavery isn't going to define me, but like we got problems with each other. You have a Haitian Black, a Nigerian Black, Somalian. They say they're not Black, but they're darker than me.
Okay, well, it's the same thing with Kamala Harris. They're saying, oh, no, she's not Black because she's
against
Jamaican.
the British.
She's this, she's not,
The Irish
Okay.
Against the British.
Yeah.
You have the Samoan versus the Tongan. And this is where you got education comes into play. It lets you know that that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
It's tribalism of humanity.
One interesting thing I just kind of remembered, and I think I saw it. I was trying to find it here, but it was Morgan Freeman. Okay, and he had, and again, don't quote me because I don't know exactly, but I remember listening to it. And one of the things that I thought it was interesting that he said is he said one way to end racism.
Not to talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Don't talk about African American this and that. It's an American. And a lot of times when we've had these discussions here, whatever, I talk about we're American, we're this, we're that. I don't want to bring it into this or that or whatever it is, because I don't want it, just because he's a Cuban president or this and that.
Right.
No. So I think if we kind of set that aside and just we're Americans, I think it solves a lot of different things.
Exactly. It does. And I think that ultimately this consciousness spread to Europe. I think we were already, we're the colony. Now, a lot of colonies were very progressive. I'm not going to take nothing from the other colonies. That's not fair. I haven't studied them all. But I would say that the United States of America's colony, our influence, sending those newspapers on boats to Europe, we influenced Britain. We influenced France, the Francos. We influenced the Prussians, the Germans. And we, before World War I is what I'm speaking of, we helped shape the modern Europe. Now, we know salsa and mambo and reggae influenced modern Europe too. We're not going to say that the other colonies didn't. But I think what we brought was a connection from the uneducated with the educated. We were the first to say, hey, the educated and uneducated need to both be heard. Now, we're not the first, but what I'm saying is we were the first to be accepted by Europeans in Europe with that. And on that note, with what we're saying, because we're really having a good flow, I think we need to let everyone know that we're going to do more talks. And I want to suggest that we talk about the state of the world's financial and economic system going forward into the crypto age, going into this. I have two financial systems, and I'm not sure if this brother is still on here. I don't think he's on here anymore. But Dr. Montgomery, if you aren't on here, our next talk, I would like to see if I can send you a link and have you come on here. Because what I want to talk about is a sung financial future and an unsung. The sung financial future, everyone. And this is for anyone that wants to get the link to come on and talk.
Yeah, and I would definitely encourage.
Watch this. The sung is the crypto and the crypto and the etc., right? The unsung is the social capital finance system. We have a social capital system that's developing right before our eyes, and we're oblivious to it. But we're not oblivious to the crypto financial system and the blockchain financial system that we're phasing into. But if we don't take leadership, Miss Dr. Montgomery, Brother Ashante Prince, son of Abraham, Yola Reverence, Willie Mack, Tony, Kashif, Love Gul, Alley Cat, my friend and brother right here, my fellow statesman, Nadeem. If we don't take control of our social capital and apply it into the international social capital like this, the international financial and the international cryptocurrency. Social capital is a form of currency. And that's what I want to do the next talk about. Phasing into the cryptocurrency blockchain financial system, which is also overlaid with an unsung, unrecognized financial system, currency system, called the social capital system.
Sounds good. I think we should do it, and I definitely encourage callers in or people that want to go ahead and join and have these discussions and open it up just for a good dialogue. So I'm definitely I would encourage everybody to do that.
Thank you. Gratitude. This is my brother. We're bringing a drop in the news. We're talking about the real deal. And get out there and vote, regardless of what side you're indoctrinated, you're influenced to be. We're dealing with trying times, and we recognize that we have to do what we can do. So you keep, however I can be there for y'all. I want to drop this knowledge. That's what I do. Communicate, have relations, and we're going to continue to develop our production capacity. I'm waiting for a cord right now, so our second camera can be available, so our switcher can be put into effect. That'll be more entertaining for you. And also, I have other equipment that I'm seeking to purchase to make the experience 100 times better. And that's what we are pushing toward right now. I want you to all realize that this is it's a costly endeavor. If you could screenshot that, if you're on a desktop, that scan I just put up there, that's going to allow you to donate to me. And that's very important. That's very important because with those funding, I have a few and more equipment. And not only that, I can pay for stream, which marketing, which will allow us to get a bigger following. The more money, the merrier. We get a bigger following. We do it on our own and with you. I'm looking for moderators. I'm working with helping others get their productions off. And I actually have more effects that I could be doing. But right now, we're just trying to be human and down to earth. We're not just going to talk about this. I can send a link to you and have you pop up on the screen and talk about what you do. You could be the guest speaker. You could promote your business, your services, your products, your ambitions. Check me out, DavidDemetri.com. We have Nadine Mustafa. Nadine Mustafa. This is who is here with me. And I'm pretty sure you're not only entertained, but you're entertained and edutained. That's what we do here. That's who we are. Mashing the place up. It's love every time. Give them a shout out.
All right, and that's exactly what we want you to do. We want you to get you guys thinking and just, stimulating your mind and get you to think of different things. Again, it's not just necessarily what you see on your, on what your TV is telling you or what your media is telling you. And I do think it is very important to vote, but I'm going to say that it's important for you to vote responsibly. And responsibly, I mean, is be aware of what the issues are. Don't be BS and bullshitted by what they're trying to feed you. Actually look and see what the issues are. Vote based on what's the best thing for your family. And again, of course, if you hadn't figured it out, of course, I'm going to vote for Trump. And I just ask you, were you better off in the 4 years of Trump, or are you better off in these 4 years of, or 3.5 or 4 years of Kamala and Biden? I know for me, with the way things are, I'm definitely was a lot better off with Trump. And you may not like him, you may not like the way he is, or he talks, or whatever he is, but look at the policies. Don't look at the way he is. Oh, I don't want him because he's a bad boy. Yeah, he's a bad boy. He's this or whatever. But don't look at that. Look at the actual policies. And that's the only thing. When you go vote, you say, I'm going to vote because of these policies. This is what I stand for, and this is what I want. And that's the only thing I'm going to say. So just think about it before you do it, but actually vote. Because if you don't vote, in my opinion, you have no say, and you can't say anything. You can't bitch and complain later. So it is what it is. And if you vote for your candidate, and whichever one it is, and it doesn't win, you suck it up. And 4 years, you bring a better candidate. That's the only thing I can go ahead and say. So just get you guys to go and go think out there again with the policies. You may agree with me, you may not agree with me, but that's fine. But just think about why you're voting for that person, and it should be because of what their policies and what they're going to do for your family, not because of emotions, or not because I'm going to vote for this because I hate this guy or this. That's not a reason. I think you need to know the reason and be proud of your reason. I want it because of this, and this is why I want it. And that's all I'm going to go say for now.
That's awesome education.
That's it. Getting people to think. That's about it.
Yes, that's it.
We got very little time left.
Woo! Did you hear it, man? We got little time left. Let me tell you, I don't care who you are. I know everybody that I'm seeing on my Instagram and my YouTubes that are actually like chimed into this talk. Let me tell you something. What he just said was vitally important. We got 49 days to re-election of possible Donald Trump or election of Kamala Harris. The vote is vitally important, but I believe in consciousness. Your soul consciousness must override your ego consciousness. I repeat, your soul consciousness must override your ego consciousness. Come on the show. I'll send the link. Check the comments because I just gave you information. Donate if you want. Communicate with me. Let's get you on. You know what I'm saying? And share the links next time. Share the links. All right. Subscribe. Become part of the team. What's going on is everybody forgot. Can you feel it? Because nothing can save you. Here is the season for catching the vapors. Don't catch the vapors. Don't be the one that slept on the team, the dream team. Be the one that joined the dream team. I'm right here. Communicate with me. We don't just talk politics. I'm DAVIDEMETRI live in color. I talk everything. You can bring consciousness. You can debate about different levels. You could promote your business you're trying. You could talk about your experiences in the industries you in and whatever you in, promoting and marketing and branding, what you want to do. What you want to do, that's what this is for. It's for you. So communicate with me. Check the comments and everything because, we done. Benevolence. It's love every time.